Phoenix Nights. Chapter 941. 10 breaths of time later, the black flower bud was completely formed. The temperature of the entire cultivation room dropped to an unfathomable level. But that was all. The black flower bud floated in midair. Other than the coldness, it did not have any other power. But any Unity Realm expert who faced this black flower bud, even if they could resist against the coldness, would still feel fear in their hearts. Fear of the threat contained within the flower bud. I've finally succeeded. Dongbu Shuang walked to the front of the floating black flower bud. He looked at the 3 leaves. The dew on the leaves and the flower bud made Dongbu Shuang feel the beauty of the laws and profound mysteries. Perfectly fusing the slaughter into the mirage. Dongbu Shuang muttered. Bloom! Destruction flower! Dongbu Shui Ying's eyes were filled with expectation. He stared at this floating black flower bud. Finally, the flower bud bloomed, and it was the most beautiful when it bloomed. It had 3 petals, and the moment it bloomed, the 3 leaves and the 3 black petals began to collapse, turning into a black mist that swirled madly towards the center. Every single leaf and petal converged into a strand of black fog. A total of 3 strands of black fog revolved, cutting and destroying everything. The void was annihilated, and everything was destroyed. It might seem ordinary, but its power was extremely reserved. If one was at the core of the destruction, one would feel how horrifying it was. Great destruction! Dongbu Shuang watched everything. His eyes were filled with infatuation. Only when he truly comprehended it would he know how beautiful it was. I can actually create such a move, Dongbu Shuang muttered. He created it himself. The more he experienced it, the more shocked he felt. It was too beautiful. The Tao of Mirage and Tao of Slaughter had been unleashed to the pinnacle, and their fusion was perfect. A strand more would be too much, and a strand less would be too little. Regardless of the concept, composition, or fusion of profound mysteries, everything was perfect. Dongbu Shuang felt that even Cosmos gods had a hard time creating such a move. Just like the 13 apocalyptic swords, the peak of the Unity Realm was the 6th floor of Star Tower. Of course, this was under the precondition that Forefather Tian Yu only used the profundities of the Tao of Slaughter. However, even if it was Forefather Tian Yu, it would be extremely difficult for him to use the different laws and profundities of the Unity Realm to create the 7th floor of Star Tower. Clearly, Forefather Tian Yu wasn't willing to spend too much effort on this. And Unity Realm experts were far weaker than Cosmos gods in terms of soul strength and deduction. To create the move of the 7th floor of Star Tower required some luck. Yes. Luck. He was lucky to be able to create it. Because he had obtained the mysterious treasure stone mirror, the stone mirror was able to deduce the fusion of Cinnabar's inheritance and Imperial Dragon's inheritance. This allowed Dongbu Shuang to have a direction and a guide. And the influence of his teacher Gu Qi's death on his heart realm was also the inducement for him to create this move. It's just that compared to creating this move, Dongbu Shuang hoped that his teacher Gu Qi was still alive. He hoped that he could meet his teacher one day, drink a few cups of wine with him, and chat with him. The 7th level of Star Tower. In the history of the 2 great sacred worlds, there were only 2 who reached this stage. Dongbu Shuang sighed. Even though he had luck, he had to accumulate more. He had to reach the peak of the 6th floor of Star Tower in terms of realm, and he had to accumulate incomparably deep. Only with some fortuitous encounters and other opportunities could he reach this stage. When he reached this stage, Dongbu Shuang felt an unprecedented sense of accomplishment. He was also better at appreciating the beauty of the laws and profound mysteries. This was how one's comprehension ability increased. Creating such a move was a transformation of one's mortal body and bones. In the future, when he created a move, he would naturally pursue this beauty. This beauty was something that could only be achieved after reaching a grand perfection. Because he had experienced it before, he would pursue it even more clearly. Hence, reaching the 7th floor of Star Tower at the Unity Realm was easy for him to reach the Primal Chaos Realm. The 8th level Star Pagoda was easy for him, and he would usually reach the peak of the 8th level after spending some time. If he accumulated enough, the chances of him breaking through to the 9th level would be huge. I shall call this flower the Destruction Flower then, Dongbua Shuang thought. This was an absolute art he created. One was a pure Tao of Mirage, absolute art Mirage, and the other was an absolute art that fused the Tao of Mirage with the Tao of Slaughter, the Destruction Flower. He believed that once he stepped into the primal chaos realm, his Tao of Mirage and Tao of Slaughter would improve, and the Destruction Flower would easily reach the 8th level. This was the gap. Even Ancestor Devil had to rely on his 6 incarnations to barely reach the 8th level after reaching the primal chaos realm. As for Heaven Weeping Sect Master, he was merely at the peak of the 7th level. As long as Dongbua Shuang broke through, he would soon reach the 8th level, or even the peak of the 8th level. This was also the reason why Dongbua Shuang was trying his best to reach the 7th level at the Unity Realm. I should spend some time to deduce the 4th style of Mirage, Dongbua Shuang thought. The 4th style of Mirage was a move from the 6th floor of Star Tower. It was similar to the Sky Punishment Edge, but it had a binding effect. To other Daos, it was hard to have a binding effect. But to the Mirage, it was a world by itself, and it specialized in binding. The reason why he did not create it was because Dongbua Shuang was mainly focused on fusing the Tao of Slaughter with the Tao of Mirage. Now that he had created the Destruction Flower, which also had a binding effect, deducing the pure Tao of Mirage from the 6th floor of Star Tower was much simpler. Dongbua Shuang was temporarily in closed-door cultivation. Those talented cultivators came to seek guidance from him, but none of them were able to do so. I never thought that it would be so difficult to seek guidance from Elder Dongbua. These talented cultivators sighed inwardly. For example, General Hatchet Palace Master, Violet Slaughter Island Master, General Heaven Light, and 5 Luster Serpent Ancestor, they could visit their friends whenever they wanted. It was already good enough for them to come out and give them some pointers. Dongbua Shuang was very passionate in the past, but after experiencing the incident with his master Gu Qi, Dongbua Shuang placed more attention on himself. His own strength was the most important thing. Pointers? That was enough. At this moment, nobody knew that in the 5 great sacred worlds of the primal chaos void, a Unity Realm expert had finally appeared in this era, the 7th floor of Star Tower. Blade Emperor City, Xinghua Emperor's cave dwelling. Xinghua Suni was also staying here. Greetings, Senior Heart Imitation, Senior Heaven Light. Xinghua Suni greeted obediently. No need to be so polite. Heart Imitation Religious Master smiled. Xinghua Suni retreated to his father's back and stood there obediently. Xinghua Emperor, Heart Imitation Religious Master, General Heaven Light, and the rest sat down. Each of them had a long table in front of them. Xinghua Emperor personally waved his hand and a flask of good wine was served. The maids also prepared some delicacies, most of which were bought from the famous restaurants in Blade Emperor City. Both sides drank and laughed as they discussed many things. They even talked about Gu Qi being killed by Sacred Master. When the wine was almost finished and the sky had turned dark, Heart Imitation Religious Master said, Brother Xinghua, I came with General Heaven Light today because my Blade Emperor City feels that your son Xinghua Sunyi's cultivation talent is extremely high. In such a short period of time, his strength has improved by leaps and bounds. He is suitable to enter my Blade Emperor City. The final 10 of the Star Convention could enter any of the 6 great sacred grounds. But the 6 great sacred grounds would not foolishly wait for them to choose. They would take the initiative to invite those with dazzling potential. In this Star Convention, from what they saw, the one with the highest potential was Xinghua Sunyi. He was ranked first in the final battle and had risen rapidly in such a short period of time. They believed that there would be an explosive period in the future. Zheng Qiong Tianyun might be comparable in strength, but he was already at the 4th level Star Pagoda when he participated in the Star Convention. His improvement was comparatively slower. Of course, General Heaven Light would invite Zheng Qiong Tianyun too. But Heart Imitation Religious Master would not appear. Only Xinghua Sun-yi and heart imitation religious master would come personally. Sun-yi, what do you think? Xinghua Emperor turned to Xinghua Sun-yi. I don't plan on joining the Blade Emperor city, Xinghua Sun-yi answered. Xinghua Emperor laughed involuntarily. This son of his, if it were a rogue cultivator, he would likely say I have to think carefully before making a decision instead of directly rejecting him. After all, heart imitation religious master and one of the teachers of the convention, General Heaven Light, had come personally. It would be unsightly if he directly rejected him. If he was tactful, heart imitation religious master and the others would understand. Xinghua Sun-yi stood obediently by the side. He did not say anything after finishing. With a father like Xinghua Emperor, he was used to being direct. Ha! Heart imitation religious master softly shook his head. He chuckled. Of the 6 great holy grounds, my Blade Emperor city is the strongest in terms of strength and foundation. If you don't join the Blade Emperor city, where are you planning to join? Great Void Heaven Temple. Xinghua Sun-yi did not hesitate. General Heaven Light sneered from the side. Great Void Heaven Temple? Little fellow, you are still too young. That Primogenitor Island and Nakerlight Holy Ground both have second-level cosmos gods. My Blade Emperor city has the deepest foundation, and Blade Emperor is also the strongest expert among the 6 great holy grounds. And the Great Void Heaven Temple is barely 4th in terms of strength. If Lord Lo Qing of Star City is willing to accept disciples and expand his influence, the Great Void Heaven Temple can only be considered 5th. Lord Lo Qing was a legend among primal chaos existences. It's a pity he did not accept disciples. The Star City also had the least experts among the 6 great holy grounds. Without Lord Lo Qing guiding him personally, he might as well join another holy ground. I plan to become the disciple of Elder Dong Bo of the Great Void Heaven Temple, Xinghua Sun-yi said. Dongbua Shuang? Heart imitation religious master was slightly enlightened. Because of the Tao of Mirage? Yes. Xinghua Sun-yi nodded. I wish to study the Tao of Mirage and Illusory Realm. Ha! General Heaven Light chuckled. Then there is no need for you to join them. The 6 great holy grounds have all basic scriptures. Their Great Void Heaven Temple has yet to reach the primal chaos realm in the Tao of Mirage. All the scriptures related to the Tao of Mirage are relatively ordinary, and we have them here. You can also read them to your heart's content. You are currently at the 4th level Star Pagoda, and after accumulating a little more, you will reach the 5th level Star Pagoda. You aren't much weaker than Dongbua Shuang, so why is there a need for you to take him as your teacher? Who knows, when you reach the primal chaos realm in the future, he might still be stuck at the 6th floor of Star Tower. For the sake of a mere Dongbua Shuang, there is no need for you to join the Great Void Heaven Temple. Heart imitation religious master added. You have to rely on yourself in the path of cultivation. The gap between you and him isn't that big. Since that's the case, why don't you study and rely on yourself? Perhaps you might be able to walk further. As for Dongbua Shuang, he is indeed outstanding now, but what Heaven Light said is logical too. He is stuck at the 6th floor of Star Tower, and that is normal. There is no need for you to take him as your teacher. If you are willing, I can accept you as my disciple. Heart imitation religious master chuckled. Xinghua Emperor was startled when he heard that. Heart imitation religious master? This was an existence who got through the 7th floor of Star Tower at the Unity Realm, and was currently at the 9th level Star Pagoda. Even though he did not cultivate the Tao of Mirage, his experience was sufficient for him to guide Xinghua Sun-yi. How is it? Heart imitation religious master looked at Xinghua Sun-yi. This was also the reason why he came personally. Many thanks for Senior's kind intentions, but I have decided to take Elder Dongbua as my teacher. Xinghua Sun-yi shook his head. His eyes were firm. Heart imitation religious master was startled. Chapter 942. Heart imitation religious master was quite fond of Xinghua Sun-yi. It wasn't because of his background, but because Xing Huasun Yi was merely at the second-level star pagoda in the past 500 billion years. Yet, during the star convention, Xing Huasun Yi's strength soared. This piqued heart imitation religious master's curiosity. He did not believe in digging out one's potential. Instead, he believed that there must be some special reasons behind it. For example, inner demons and inner tribulations. With Xing Huasun Yi's innate talent, comprehension ability, and background, it was impossible for him to remain low for so long under normal circumstances. Heart imitation religious master was sure that there must be a special reason for this. The possibility of it being a heart demon or heart tribulation was very high. Even at the unity realm, his mental state would encounter a huge setback? Heart imitation religious master was filled with anticipation. Maybe he would be suitable for the heart imitation technique that I created. Back then, he was also a peerless monster. In the history of the two great sacred worlds, there were only two Unity Realm experts who had reached the 7th floor of Star Tower. He, heart imitation religious master, was one of them. The technique he created was directed towards the soul. Hence, his spirit required more tempering and setbacks. Every time he rose up from a setback, his spirit would become even stronger. That was why he had his eyes on Xing Huasun Yi. Haha, think about it carefully. Before the Star Convention, you can become my disciple. Heart imitation religious master immediately stood up. Beside him, General Tianguang stood up as well. Xinghua Emperor also stood up and said, Brother Heart Elephant, Sun Yi is a little stubborn, please don't mind him. Cultivation is also about cultivating the mind. It's good to be persistent. Heart imitation religious master smiled calmly. He was quite open-minded. He felt that Lin Fan was a good seedling. However, if Lin Fan wasn't willing to take him as his master, he wouldn't force him either. After all, in the eyes of such a peerless powerhouse, the disciple was merely the inheritor of his ultimate technique. To be able to obtain his inheritance was the disciple's luck. If they couldn't get it, it was because they didn't have the luck to do so. Xing Huasun Yi. General Tianguang snorted coldly. Think about it carefully. It's extremely rare for heart imitation religious master to accept a disciple. If you don't acknowledge him as your disciple and instead acknowledge Dong Shuang, when he is stuck at the Unity Realm, it would be too late for you to regret it. Xing Huasun Yi went silent. Humph! General Tianguang followed behind heart imitation religious master and headed out. Very soon. Within the courtyard, Xinghua Emperor and his son Xing Huasun Yi returned. Sit down. Xinghua Emperor sat there and poured himself a cup of wine. There was a rare smile on his face. Father! Xing Huasun Yi obediently sat by the side. I never expected that my son would one day make heart imitation religious master take the initiative to accept him as a disciple. Xinghua Emperor said. I am quite satisfied that you are able to stick to your decision. However, I have to tell you, heart imitation is truly a monstrous talent. The heart imitation lineage that he created belongs to a special cultivation system. Special cultivation system? Xing Huasun Yi was puzzled. Other than the ancient cultivation system, the laws and profound mysteries system, the strongest warrior system, the hex cultivation system, the ancestor mother cultivation system, the devour class system, and other common systems, there were other systems that had very few cultivators like the Void Walker system. There were also other systems that had even fewer cultivators. There were only a handful of them in the entire primal chaos void. The more special the system, the harder it would be to cross the threshold. Amen, his heart imitation lineage is a special system. According to what I know, there are only 2 cultivators in the primal chaos void system, him and his disciple, Emperor Nine Dragon. Xinghua Emperor said. Xing Huasun Yi was startled when he heard that. Emperor Nine Dragon? That was a famous expert in the Blade Emperor city. He was in existence at the peak of the 8th level Star Pagoda. This lineage directly cultivates the soul, Xinghua Emperor said. Hence, it is hard to cross the threshold. Usually, those who succeed will be able to step into the primal chaos realm. Like heart imitation religious master and Emperor Nine Dragon, They have a group of disciples, but it's a pity that none of them have crossed the threshold. Heart imitation religious master should be accepting you as a disciple because he feels that you have the potential to do so. From how I see it, you should become his disciple and try cultivating the heart imitation lineage. At the same time, you can also cultivate the Tao of Mirage. That might be better for you. Xinghua Emperor looked at his son. The Blade Emperor city was ultimately the head of the 6 great holy grounds. If a war were to break out, the Blade Emperor city would be safer than the Great Void Heaven Temple. I still choose to become the disciple of Elder Dongbo, Xinghua Suni said. Why? Xinghua Emperor felt puzzled. I, Xinghua Suni, have decided to walk the Tao of Mirage in this life. On this path, Elder Dongbo is the best teacher, Xinghua Suni said. Not just the Blade Emperor city, even the Jade Light's sacred territory and Primogenitor Island invited him. Naturally, they were all rejected. What? Heart imitation religious master personally accepted him as a disciple, yet he rejected him? He wants to become the disciple of Dongbo Shuang? Many primal chaos giants who came to accept him as a disciple were rejected one after another. This news naturally spread across the participating primal chaos giants. When General Heaven Light was with other primal chaos giants, he even said, that brat doesn't want to become the disciple of heart imitation religious master. Instead, he wants to become the disciple of a Unity Realm expert. Isn't this a joke? In the eyes of the primal chaos giants, some felt that Xinghua Suni had a firm heart, but the majority felt that it was a joke. That was heart imitation religious master. Only after reaching the primal chaos realm could one understand how terrifying heart imitation religious master was. That was someone who opened a new cultivation system, and could even fight with cosmos gods before leaving. Some even took the initiative to persuade Xinghua Emperor when they met him, to which Xinghua Emperor shook his head with a smile. He has made up his mind. Since I can't persuade him, then let him be. Within the cultivation room, Dongbu Shuang sat cross-legged. His law domain engulfed the entire cultivation room. Currently, he had already reconstructed his law domain according to the newly created destruction flower. Its power was naturally extraordinary. Some primal chaos giants might not even have law domains as strong as Dongbu Shuang. The law of the sacred world had been forced out of the cultivation room. Slowly, Dongbu Shuang opened his eyes. The fourth style of Mirage, Frost Hell, had long been created. Because the Star Convention was coming to an end, he was not in a rush to break through. Even though he felt that he could break through to the primal chaos realm after some time, the moment he broke through, he had to take the opportunity to consolidate his foundation. He had to perfect the ancient cultivation inheritance, absolute arts, and many other aspects. Instead, he spent some time researching the Void Walker system and the plate ripple diagram. There are still 300 years before the end of the Star Convention. It is time for me to leave. Dongbu Shuang stood up. After the convention ends, I'll return to the Great Void Heaven Temple and enter closed-door cultivation before breaking through to the Primal Chaos Realm. Hong long long. The door to the cultivation room opened. Dongbu Shuang walked out. Elder. There was a female attendant waiting outside the cultivation room. If any cultivators come to seek an audience, bring them to me, Dongbu Shuang said. 300 years in advance was prepared for those talented cultivators. Yes. The female attendant replied respectfully. Dongbu Shuang also informed inquisitive Sky Hall Master that he had left closed-door cultivation. You are finally out? Do you know that many holy grounds have taken the initiative to invite that Xinghua Suni? Even Heart Imitation Religious Master has taken the initiative to accept him as a disciple, but it's a pity that it's useless. Inquisitive Sky Hall Master transmitted. He is determined to take you as his teacher no matter what. Several primal case giants who visited Xinghua Emperor tried to persuade that little fellow, but it's useless. He has decided to take you as his teacher. Ah? Dongbu Shuang was startled. There were many who wished to become Heart Imitation Religious Master's disciple. This brat is crazy about the Tao of Mirage. He is also talented. Dongbua Shuang chuckled. He is a good disciple. At that moment, Dongbua Shuang left his cavern dwelling and headed towards Xinghua Emperor's cavern dwelling. Within the courtyard of Xinghua Emperor's cavern dwelling, Elder Dongbua, it is rare for you to come to my place. Xinghua Emperor smiled as he sat down. By the side, Xinghua Sun Yi's eyes were brightening as he looked at Dongbua Shuang. I have been in closed-door cultivation previously. I only found out about what happened after I came out. Dongbua Shuang looked up at Xinghua Sun Yi by the side. Xinghua Sun Yi is talented too. The other holy grounds have taken the initiative to invite him. I am here to invite Xinghua Sun Yi to my great void heaven temple. If he is willing, he can become my disciple. Xinghua Sun Yi went forward and knelt down respectfully. Disciple greets teacher. He then kowed out 3 times. All right. Dongbua Shuang nodded with a smile. Chapter 943. If Xinghua Sun Yi did not accept him as a disciple immediately after coming out of seclusion, Xinghua Sun Yi might take the initiative to take him as his master. That would not be good. After all, the other sacred grounds had taken the initiative to invite him. Even Heart Imitation Religious Master had taken the initiative to take him as a disciple. If he, Dongbua Shuang, were to wait for Xinghua Sun Yi to take him as his master, wouldn't he be slapping Heart Imitation Religious Master's face? He had to invite him like the other sacred grounds. If Xinghua Sun Yi chose the great void heaven temple of the 6 sacred grounds, nobody would say anything. Sun Yi, this brat is too rash. He has made things difficult for Elder Dongbua. Xinghua Emperor said. It's just a small matter. Dongbua Shuang was rather casual. He immediately asked Xinghua Sun Yi about his cultivation gains over the years. The master and disciple immediately started discussing the Tao of Mirage. Xinghua Emperor was inwardly shocked when he saw this. If it was any other Unity Realm expert, none of them would dare to take Xinghua Sun Yi as their disciple after being rejected by Heart Imitation Religious Master. But Dongbua Shuang accepted it very calmly. He did not show any agitation, nervousness, or any other emotions. He treated it as a very ordinary matter. For him to be so calm, either he was arrogant in his heart, or he truly had the confidence to do so. This Elder Dongbua doesn't seem like an arrogant person. That means he has the confidence to step into the primal chaos realm? Xinghua Emperor guessed inwardly, if he could really step into the primal chaos realm in such a short period of time, that would be too amazing. How long has he cultivated for? Xinghua Emperor did not know. Dongbua Shuang had reached the 7th floor of Star Tower at the Unity Realm. It would not be difficult for him to reach the Primal Chaos Realm. Not long later, he would be able to stand at the peak of the Primal Chaos Realm. Even though he might not be as strong as Xinghua Emperor, the difference wouldn't be too huge. Dongbua Shuang took the initiative to take him as a disciple. The news of Xinghua Sun Yi entering the Great Void Heaven Temple and taking Dongbua Shuang as his master spread. He really became the disciple of that Unity Realm brat. I really don't know what this Xinghua Sun Yi is thinking. Instead of taking Heart Imitation Religious Master as his master, he would rather take a Unity Realm expert as his master. Seng Qiong Tianyun and the other genius cultivators who were also in the top 5 felt a little envious. This was because Heart Imitation Religious Master did not come to take them as disciples. Even if they joined the 6 Holy Lands, in order to become disciples of Heart Imitation Religious Master, Heart Imitation Religious Master had to be willing. In a flash, the Star Convention had reached its final stage, and countless cultivators were rushing over from all over the place. This time, the number of cultivators who had arrived was much more than the number at the beginning of the convention. Because today, there would be a public lecture specially prepared for them. Countless ordinary cultivators might not be able to find guidance from a senior at the level of the conference's master in their entire lives. It was a great opportunity for Shuang to be able to listen to them speak about the Tao publicly. Perhaps a single touch might allow a true God ruler to become a void god, and an origin birth realm expert to step into the Unity realm. Rumble! There were 10 huge names in midair beside the Star Tower. They were the 10 disciples that had been chosen in the final round of the Star Convention this time. They could choose any holy land to join, and they would be heavily nurtured as the core. On the enormous battle platform spanning 50,000 kilometers, Xing Huasun and the other 9 stood side by side. The 10 of you can choose which holy land to join, Heart Imitation Religious Master said from the high platform. I'm willing to join the Great Void Heaven Temple. I'm willing to join the Blade Emperor City. I'm willing to join the Void God Temple. I'm willing to join the Blade Emperor City. Under the gazes of countless cultivators, and the envious gazes of other genius cultivators, Xing Huasun and the others reported their names one by one. Actually, 3 of them had received the invitation beforehand, but publicly announcing which side they would join was part of the Star Convention's procedure. So. The 10 of them turned into streams of light, and flew towards the high platform. They stood behind the teacher of the convention according to their choice. Behind Dongwu Shuang, there was only Xing Huasun. Behind General Heaven Light, there were a total of 3, including Tsang Qiong Tianyun. Being the strongest of the 6 great holy lands, they would usually have the most people joining them in the Star Convention. It was very normal for 3 out of 10 to join. Sometimes, it was exaggerated to say that 5 or 6 would join the Blade Emperor City. General Hatchet Palace Master also had 3 behind him. Clearly, General Hatchet Palace Master's influence was not ordinary. Behind Violet Slaughter Island Master was 1. Behind 5 Luster Serpent Ancestor were 2. They were both void creatures. Void creatures would usually choose the Void God Temple. As for Star City, no one chose it. Star City was the most unique of the 6 great holy lands. They would usually not send teachers for the convention, which was why there were only 5 teachers. Even if someone chose Star City, they would definitely regret it. Because there were too few experts in Star City, it was hard to obtain good guidance. Wanting to obtain the guidance of the legendary Lord Locheng was practically an extravagant hope. 5. Heart Imitation Religious Master looked at General Hatchet Palace Master and the other 4. Next, it will be time for everyone to publicly lecture on the Tao. After the Tao lecture, the convention will end. Previously, the competition of the General Assembly had all been between genius cultivators. But publicly lecturing on the Tao is something that many ordinary cultivators desire. Everyone, please do your best. According to logic, each Tao lecture will not be shorter than 3 days. Amen. General Hatchet Palace Master nodded. That is natural. General Heaven Light nodded. Violet Slaughter Island Master, 5 Luster Serpent Ancestor, and Dongwu Shuang had already made their preparations. Then shall we begin with Elder Dongwu lecturing on the Tao? Heart Imitation Religious Master said. Dongwu Shuang chuckled as he stood up. It was normal. The 5 teachers of the convention would lecture on the Tao in accordance to their strength. General Hatchet Palace Master, who was the strongest, would naturally be the finale. A 9th-level Star Pagoda existence lectured on the Tao, and General Hatchet Palace Master's attainments in certain aspects had reached the Cosmos God level. And the only Unity Realm expert amongst the 5, Dongwu Shuang, would naturally be the first to lecture on the Tao. Who? After Dongwu Shuang stood up, his figure flashed and appeared in midair. He then walked down step by step until he reached the battle platform. At this moment, many cultivators were looking at Dongwu Shuang, who stood on the battle platform. I do want to see how strong this Dongwu Shuang is. Xing Huasun isn't willing to take Heart Imitation Religious Master as his teacher, yet he still wants to take him as his teacher? The primal chaos giants watching from above were prepared to listen carefully. The cultivators below were all holding their breaths as they listened attentively. Dongwu Shuang was wearing a white robe. He sat down cross-legged and swept his gaze across the cultivators below. He said, "This time, I will be lecturing on the Tao, mainly about the illusory realm and slaughter." He had not only comprehended the Tao of Mirage and Tao of Slaughter to the 6th floor of Star Tower, he had even fused the Slaughter perfectly into the Mirage, creating a move that could reach the 7th floor of Star Tower. Dongwu Shuang was the most confident in his understanding of these two. Even though strictly speaking, he was the proudest of his Tao of Mirage, there were very few cultivators who specialized in the illusory realm. As for slaughter, it was something many cultivators had researched on. After all, it was hard to avoid battles and slaughter when adventuring outside. Illusory realm, slaughter? The genius cultivators below were slightly excited. They were very interested in slaughter. They wanted to listen to the illusory realm that gave them headaches. Even if they could not learn it, they could at least understand it. Amongst the primal chaos giants above, the thin male Bai Yun Palace Master sneered. Slaughter? You dare to talk about slaughter? Very good. By then, don't blame me for smacking your face. Lecturing on the Tao was not a solo lecture. During the process, many cultivators would come and seek guidance from Dongbua Shuiying. He would choose a portion of them to guide them one by one. There would even be experts who questioned him. I cultivate the Imperial Dragon inheritance, and what I specialize in is slaughter. Bai Yun Palace Master's eyes were filled with coldness. Previously, he was directly rejected and chased out by Dongbua Shuiying. Bai Yun Palace Master was not someone with a good temper. Furthermore, during this period of time, Dongbua Shuiying had been relatively dazzling. First, he chose Xinghua Sunyi to become the number one disciple. Xinghua Sunyi rejected all the other disciples who took the initiative to take him as a disciple. Instead, he chose to become Dongbua Shuiying's disciple. Bai Yun Palace Master was naturally unhappy when he saw how glorious Dongbua Shuiying was. And this time, Dongbua Shuiying was actually lecturing on slaughter. He was someone who mainly cultivated the Imperial Dragon inheritance of slaughter, and had become a primal chaos giant. Humph. Bai Yun Palace Master immediately began listening attentively. Chapter 944. On the towering battle platform, Dongbua Shuiying sat cross-legged by himself. He faced the cultivators below and began lecturing on the Tao. The cultivators knew the etiquette. All of them sat down cross-legged. Some of the mutated beasts were also lying down. None of them made a sound. They were all obediently listening. At this moment, it would incur the wrath of the masses if one were to speak recklessly. Even if they spoke to each other, they would at most transmit their voices. He first lectured on the slaughter. Because there were many cultivators who comprehended the slaughter, Dongbua Shuiying started from the transcendent realm before extending it to the various branches of the slaughter lineage. Different branches would always talk about reaching the void god realm at the end. Shuiying's current realm was naturally at a strategically advantageous position. He could rapidly point out the different branches, causing many of the weaker cultivators to excitedly listen to him. Even some of the weaker deities, world deities, and true gods who were fortunate enough to come here were intoxicated listening to him. Even the cultivators who reached the void god realm were startled. It even gave them more comprehensions. Amazing! I have long become a void god, yet who would have thought that there are so many ways to use the Tao of slaughter at the true god realm? Many of the listeners gained a new understanding of their own cultivation. There were even aura fluctuations of breakthroughs amongst the cultivators. This was normal too. It was common for cultivators to break through and gain enlightenment when listening to the public lecture on the Tao by the teachers of the Star Convention. After all, these cultivators at the bottom would not be able to obtain guidance from those at the top. For a total of 18 hours, Dongbua Shuiying lectured on the different branches of the Tao of slaughter from the transcendent to the void god realm. After that, Dongbua Shuiying began lecturing on the illusory realm again. Similarly, he lectured on the illusory realm from the transcendent realm all the way to the void god realm. He lectured on it for a total of 18 hours. The public lecture on the Tao had temporarily ended, and it was time for the cultivators to seek guidance. If you have any doubts, you can ask me now. Dongbua Shuiying stopped. He chuckled. His voice reverberated across the entire venue. Senior Dongbua. Thousands of cultivators who had been sitting cross-legged, lying down, or sitting cross-legged, stood up. According to the rules of the Star Convention, standing up during the lecture meant that they needed guidance. Those who stood up were practically all below the void god level, and there were only a dozen or so void gods. After all, the first stage of the Tao lecture was mainly for those at the lower levels. All of you, come up! Dongbu Shuang manipulated the void and instantly took control of 300 cultivators. The weakest among them was just a child at the transcendent level, while the strongest was at the origin birth level. It was impossible for him to give pointers to everyone because there was a time limit to the lecture. Usually, he would only give pointers to a few. Actually, giving pointers was enough. Many cultivators had similar problems. So, under the control of Dongbu Shuang, the 300 cultivators flew onto the stage. All of them were excited. They were lucky to have the chance to learn from him. Senior Dongbo! The 300 cultivators, regardless of their race, all bowed respectfully. One by one. Dongbu Shuang chuckled. His gaze landed on the weakest child, a slightly plump lass. This lass was slightly nervous. Her father was an attendant in a restaurant in Blade Emperor City. She was born in Blade Emperor City, and that was why she had the chance to listen to the lecture. In the sacred world, she was a transcendent at birth, and her intelligence was naturally high. But she could only understand a small portion of what Dongbu Shuang said at the start, and could not understand the rest. Senior! The lass's voice was clear and sweet. She obediently bowed before asking. Time passed. Dongbu Shuang spent 18 hours on the first stage of the Tao lecture. After that, he spent close to 20 hours guiding the 300 cultivators. Only then did he begin the second stage of the Tao lecture. The second stage mainly talked about the void god origin birth realm. He first talked about slaughter before talking about the illusory realm. But this time, he only spent 24 hours. Later on, he also taught 300 cultivators, but it took him 40 hours. The third stage of the Tao lecture was about the void god unity realm. Many cultivators below were intoxicated as they listened. They felt even more admiration and respect towards Dongbu Shuang. Lecturing about the Tao required genuine knowledge. This senior Dongbu was the only unity realm expert amongst the 5 teachers of the convention, and his explanations were amazing, allowing them to comprehend more frequently. And the primal chaos giants above were also listening patiently because this was a Tao lecture prepared by the 6 great holy grounds for the ordinary cultivators. Dongbu Shuang is indeed the strongest unity realm expert in the 2 great sacred worlds. He also cultivates the laws and profound mysteries system. His explanations are detailed and direct to the core. The primal chaos giants were also discussing with one another through voice transmissions. Indeed, in terms of Tao discussion, the laws and profound mysteries system and the hex cultivation system were the best, and their explanations were clearer. Not bad. Even primal chaos giants might not be able to guide these ordinary cultivators as well as this Dongbu Shuang. They were evaluating each other. And Bai Yun Palace Master, who had always wanted to find fault with them, was watching coldly. He felt unhappy in his heart. Even if he was not willing to admit it, he understood in his heart that Dongbu Shuang had taught many aspects that Bai Yun Palace Master had never thought of. Because he only needed to improve the Imperial Dragon inheritance for the ancient cultivation. He has finally talked about the Unity Realm. The more profound the lecture, the easier it is for him to make a mistake. Bai Yun Palace Master was selfish and had a conceited personality. The better Dongbu Shuang performed in the Star Convention, the more unhappy he became. The ordinary cultivators below were too lazy to care about the disputes between the higher-ups. They only knew that this senior Dongbu's Tao lecture was of great help to them. All of them were immersed in listening. Even if they did not understand, they would rely on their memories to remember everything. It's just that when Dongbu Shuang lectured on the Tao, some scenes were too profound, and they could not remember them. Perhaps they could remember the content, and in the future, they could relive it again and again. Finally, as the Tao lecture got more profound, Dongbu Shuiying's lecture on the Unity Realm Tao of Massacre had already reached the level of the 6th floor of Star Tower. This was also the highest level of his Tao lecture. Amen? Bai Yun Palace Master's eyes suddenly lit up. What a joke! Those who are strong would naturally be able to lecture on the Tao easily. He is only at the 6th floor of Star Tower, and he dares to lecture on this level of Tao. As expected, I have discovered a problem. The Unity Realm was much more complicated. Dombu Shuang lectured for a total of 60 hours before stopping. If you have any doubts, you can come and ask me, Dombu Shuang said. The cultivators below immediately stood up. Several tens of thousands of them were all at the Unity Realm. One must know that other than the locals of Blade Emperor City, it would not be easy for outsiders to rush over. Just the teleportation array fee alone was not low. Thus, those who could rush over from other places were usually strong and had reached the Unity Realm. Shuang then proceeded to pick out 300 of them. As long as he finished guiding these 300, his lecture on the Tao would be over. Elder Dombu, I have some understanding of the Tao of Slaughter. I hope for Elder Dombu to guide me. A voice sounded. Dombu Shuang, who was seated cross-legged on the battle platform, looked up. He saw a thin male stepping on the void and landing on the battle platform. This caused Dombu Shuang to be slightly startled. It was him. Baiyun Palace Master? Amen? Primal Chaos Realm! The cultivators below were slightly excited. During the public lecture on the Tao in the Star Convention, most Primal Chaos Giants would be the teachers of the convention. When they lectured on the Tao, they would also talk about breaking through to the Primal Chaos Realm. At this moment, it would attract the suspicions of the other Primal Chaos Giants. Two Primal Chaos Giants would debate on the Tao on the battle platform. This was a good thing. They had different understandings. They were both Primal Chaos Giants, and their debate on the Tao would be helpful to some of the Unity Realm cultivators below in breaking through to the Primal Chaos Realm. It's just that Dombu Shuang was only at the Unity Realm. When he lectured on the Tao, even the Primal Chaos Giants felt that no one would lower their status to question him. After all, it was unfair for a Primal Chaos Giant to question a Unity Realm cultivator. Such questioning was akin to smacking the other party's face. Baiyun Palace Master. Dombu Shuang immediately stood up. It was not good for him to continue sitting cross-legged facing a Primal Chaos expert. I don't have any other intentions. It's just that for the sake of the cultivators present, I have to debate with you. Baiyun Palace Master acted as though he was doing this for all the cultivators present. Please. Dombu Shuang nodded. Previously, when you lectured on the Tao of Slaughter, you felt that the foundation of the Tao of Slaughter lies in storing, followed by releasing. Am I right? Baiyun Palace Master said. Dombu Shuang nodded. I dare not say for the Primal Chaos Realm. But at the Unity Realm, I feel that storing is more important. You just have to act against me. I will only display the strength of the 6th floor of Star Tower to deal with you. Baiyun Palace Master chuckled. In a while, you will understand which one is more important. All right. Dombu Shuang nodded. Usually, no one would be able to convince the other party in debating on the Tao. Hence, they would fight to verify it. Hong, Hard Imitation Religious Master who was on the high platform immediately controlled the battle platform. An array light barrier rose around the battle platform, preventing the shockwaves from the spar from affecting the cultivators below. Senior Dombu and the Primal Chaos Expert are going to fight to verify their Tao. Many cultivators watched nervously and excitedly. This was the highest level of competition since the start of the Star Convention. Be careful. With a thought, Dombu Shuang caused many black long shuttles to appear floating around him. The two ends of the long shuttles were incredibly sharp. And on the other side, Baiyun Palace Master chuckled as he extended his right hand. His right hand did not even have scales appearing. Clearly, he felt disdain. Chapter 945. Feel free to make your move. Baiyun Palace Master spoke with the demeanor of a senior. Dombu Shuang smiled and flicked his sleeves. Swish, swish, swish. A total of 16 black shuttles flew towards Baiyun Palace Master, arriving in front of him in an instant. At this moment, every single black shuttle erupted with a shocking might. Every single one of them turned into a blurry shadow, and the insides of them seemed to collapse into a chaotic whole. Even under the laws of the Saints' world, they could cause space to collapse into a chaotic whole, demonstrating their might. Didn't you say that the Tao of Slaughter is about accumulation? This should be considered as accumulation. Bai Yun Palace Master slapped with his palm. His palm seemed to have turned into a blur, as he blocked the attacks of the 16 black shuttles. Dongbu Shuang shook his head when he saw this. This Bai Yun Palace Master said that he could only display the strength of the 6th floor of Star Tower. In reality, he should have displayed the peak of the 6th floor of Star Tower. Because every single one of his black shuttles was a peak-grade Void God weapon, and they were all using the apocalyptic 6th sword. Even the Thunderflame Pagoda Master would not be able to block them so easily. Bai Yun Palace Master cultivated the Imperial Dragon inheritance, and his body was extremely strong. If scales appeared on his body, it would be comparable to a high-grade Void God weapon. His palms were especially powerful. If scales appeared on them, they would be comparable to a peak-grade Void God weapon. His palms were extremely terrifying in terms of strength, speed, power, and many other aspects. Even without scales, his speed and strength were easily above the Thunderflame Pagoda Master. He was most proficient in palms, so he could naturally block Dongbu Shuiying's attack. Bai Yun Palace Master, we will know in a while, Dongbu Shuiying said. Then I'll have to see how many methods Elder Dongbo has. Bai Yun Palace Master continued to smile, and did not lose his bearing. At the same time, he continued to block the incoming black shuttles. Swish, 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 the 16 black shuttles revolved around Bai Yun Palace Master. They turned into blurs as they attacked one after another. Every time they clashed, their might would spread in all directions as they bombarded the light barrier at the edge of the battle platform. Bai Yun Palace Master's expression gradually changed. How can this be interesting? Heart Imitation Religious Master, General Hatchet Palace Master, Xinghua Emperor, and many other primal chaos giants who were watching from above had discovered the uniqueness of Dongbu Shuiying's technique. He has improved since the battle with Lei Yan. Heart Imitation Religious Master praised. Indeed. If it was the Dongbu Shuiying during the battle with the Lei Yan Pagoda Master, even if he used the apocalyptic 6th sword, he would only be able to cover the sky and cover the earth in a frenzy of attacks. However, after creating the Destruction Flower, Dongbu Shuiying's understanding of both the Tao of Mirage and Tao of Massacre had deepened. Thus, he was able to execute them more skillfully. The 16 black shuttles attacked Palace Head Bai Yun continuously. Every time they were repelled, they would borrow the momentum to attack again. Moreover, the 16 black long shuttles formed an encirclement that was like a world of its own. It was continuous, and its might was also continuous. Not only was its might strong, their coordination was also superb. Bai Yun Palace Master was even unknowingly forced to use both his hands to defend, which was extremely strenuous. How is this possible? Bai Yun Palace Master did not dare believe it. How can he execute the slaughter at the Unity Realm to such an extent? It was too exquisite. The originally brutal slaughter was like musical notes in the hands of Dongbu Shuiying. It brought with it a bizarre sense of beauty. This kind of beauty already had the feeling of absolute perfection of the flower of destruction. If it was an overwhelming attack, it would require 30 shuttles to execute the apocalyptic 6th sword at the same time to produce such pressure. Dongbu Shuiying chuckled. The higher the realm, the easier it was for him to execute low-tier techniques. In the past, he could execute 15 sky punishment edges at the same time. But now, he could execute 25 of them. This was because his understanding of the Tao of Mirage had become deeper. He only needed to use less heart energy to execute the sky punishment edges. And the Tao of Slaughter was still slightly lacking compared to the Tao of Mirage. He could only execute 20 shuttles at the same time with the apocalyptic 6th sword. The reason why he executed 16 shuttles was to reserve some heart energy in case of unforeseen circumstances. This is too exquisite. If this continues, I might not be able to defend against it. Bai Yun Palace Master was slightly anxious. Under the gaze of many cultivators, and with so many primal chaos giants watching from above, what if he lost to a Unity Realm expert? Bai Yun Palace Master could not accept it. Elder Dongbu, This weapon is a top-grade void god weapon. Even my palms can't hold on much longer. Bai Yun Palace Master laughed out loud. Black scales appeared on his palms as he slapped out with his palms. The power behind each of his attacks was abnormally terrifying. Ping ping ping, the black long shuttles were sent flying far away. Because the difference in power was too great, Bai Yun could not borrow strength from them. As a result, the previous feeling of continuity was broken. He has passed. Hard Imitation Religious Master and General Hatchet Palace Master who were watching from above frowned. This Bai Yun has displayed the strength of the 7th floor of Star Tower. Since they could deduce it, most primal chaos giants could do so too. But the ordinary cultivators watching from below had too low a realm. To Bai Yun Palace Master, his reputation amongst primal chaos giants was ordinary. He would rather be mocked by them. He could not tolerate himself being defeated by a Unity Realm expert. Amen, he is actually so shameless. Dongbua Shui Ying's expression changed when he saw this. Haha, Elder Dongbua, you mentioned that the Tao of Slaughter lies in the accumulation? With this palm of mine, your flying shuttles will scatter in all directions. Bai Yun Palace Master chuckled. Bai Yun Palace Master, then use your palm to break this technique. The white-robed Dongbua Shuang stood there. His voice turned cold. Hua, the illusory world was faintly discernible. At the center of this illusory world, there was a black flower bud. It had 3 leaves, and there were water droplets rolling on the leaves. The entire illusory world seemed to exist just for this black flower bud. Closely following that, the black flower bud descended from the illusory world into reality. This time, it instantly turned into reality. Honglong, the world energy suddenly surged, causing a maelstrom of world energy to appear within the battle platform. Even the center of the maelstrom had collapsed, and a vast amount of world energy surged out from the collapsed space. The black flower bud appeared, completely enveloping Bai Yun Palace Master. The flower bud's petals were black, but they were faintly translucent. One could faintly see Bai Yun Palace Master's figure within. Just this move? Break from me. Bai Yun Palace Master laughed. Dongbua Shuang watched coldly. Since the other party was so shameless, there was no need for Dongbua Shuang to give him any face. He did not intend to conceal the fact that he had reached the 7th floor of Star Tower, so he might as well make use of this opportunity to reveal it. Hong 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 hong. Black flower buds appeared one after another, with each flower enveloping the other flower inside. There were a total of 7 black flower buds, with the bigger flower enveloping the smaller flower. At the very center was the trapped Bai Yun Palace Master. Break from me. Bai Yun Palace Master was still abnormally confident. His understanding of the Tao of Mirage was extremely low, and he did not realize how terrifying the flower of destruction, which had completely converged into the shape of a flower bud, was. Perhaps only when it bloomed did he understand how terrifying this move was. Boom! Bai Yun Palace Master stabbed out furiously with both his palms. The black flower bud was incomparably tough, and before it bloomed, it already had a binding effect. As he stabbed out furiously, the innermost black flower bud instantly started to be destroyed. The petals bloomed, and along with the leaves, they turned into black air currents and started to collapse. Bai Yun Palace Master's hands broke apart the first black flower bud, but before he could rejoice, he felt a terrifying force surging towards him. Even though he was arrogant, he still didn't have scales on the surface of his body. But under this force, his body was immediately torn apart, and he was instantly injured. This was also because Dongbua Shuang had been lenient, only allowing the first black flower bud to explode. If all 7 flowers were to explode, and he still didn't have scales on the surface of his body, he would have instantly been severely injured. What? Bai Yun Palace Master's expression changed. It was just a black flower bud, and he couldn't care less about it. His body rapidly recovered, and black scales also appeared on the surface of his body. His entire body was covered with a layer of black scales, and both his defense and offense were extremely strong. This was the power of the Imperial Dragon inheritance. Break it from me! A phenomenon appeared behind Bai Yun Palace Master. A huge black-scaled mutated beast illusion was incomparably conspicuous. Part of the mutated beast's body had even left the region of the black flower bud. Because the mutated beast was illusory, the black flower bud did not obstruct it. All the primal chaos giants above were currently looking down with slight shock. Bai Yun Palace Master was going all out. Break! The front claws of the huge black-scaled mutated beast overlapped with the palms of Bai Yun Palace Master. They abruptly slammed against the black flower bud. Pun pun pun. As they broke apart the black flower bud, every single black flower bud began blossoming. Even though waves of destructive force were acting on his body, Bai Yun Palace Master still withstood it with a savage expression. He forcefully broke apart 5 black flower buds in one breath. Following that, he once again exerted his strength to break apart the outermost black flower bud. The 7 black flower buds in front and behind finally broke apart. What a pity! At the moment they broke apart, another 7 black flower buds descended. The surrounding world energy formed into a berserk maelstrom. The center of the maelstrom collapsed, and a vast amount of world energy was pouring in from the collapsed hole. Hong 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 hong! Bai Yun Palace Master was frantically attacking. But Dongbu Shuang simply stood in the distance. He controlled the black flower buds to descend, preventing Bai Yun Palace Master from rushing out. If not for the soul enhancement from Cinnabar's inheritance, Dongbu Shui Ying's soul could only produce a single black flower bud. And because the soul of Cinnabar's inheritance was sufficiently powerful, he could produce 7 black flower buds. It was clearly sufficient to suppress Bai Yun Palace Master. But the scaled armor of Bai Yun Palace Master was comparable to an upper-graded Void God weapon, and he could resist against it. This. After striking several times, Bai Yun Palace Master stopped. He stared blankly at the enormous black flower petals in front of him. 7 black flower buds, one wrapped around the other, still trapping him. So what if the defenses of his body were strong? He could not kill his way out. He was a primal chaos giant with the strength of the 7th floor of Star Tower, yet he was trapped within these 7 flowers and could not get out. Not only could he not win after going all out, he was even at a disadvantage. He could only rely on the scaled armor to survive. Could he have reached the 7th floor of Star Tower? Bai Yun Palace Master could vaguely see that figure on the battle platform through the translucent enormous black flower petals. He still did not dare believe it. On the high platform, when Dongbu Shuang produced the black flower buds, General Hatchet Palace Master, who had his heart in suspense, suddenly stood up. He stared at those 7 black flower buds. That is, not just him. At this moment, a total of 8 primal chaos giants could not help but stand up. They stared down with shock. Even though Heart Imitation Religious Master and the others did not stand up, a huge wave was surging in their hearts. 7th floor of Star Tower? To be able to completely suppress Bai Yun Palace Master and even hold a clear advantage, Dongbu Shuang was unquestionably at the strength of the 7th floor of Star Tower. In the history of the 2 great sacred worlds, there were only 2 Unity Realm experts who reached the 7th floor of Star Tower. If one were to include the entire primal chaos void from the primitive ancient sacred world until now, there were only 8 Unity Realm experts who had reached the 7th floor of Star Tower. Of which 7 had reached the 9th level Star Pagoda strength, and 1 had reached the peak of the 8th level Star Pagoda strength. Naturally, 3 of them had fallen. Hence, it was destined that a Unity Realm's 7th level expert would reach the peak of the 8th level within a short period. The chances of him reaching the 9th level in the future was huge. Unity Realm, 7th level! The 8 primal chaos giants stood. The other primal chaos giants were also staring at the battle platform below. At this moment, they understood that they were witnessing history, witnessing the birth of a new Unity Realm expert on the 7th floor of Star Tower. He was the 3rd in the history of the 2 great sacred worlds, and the 9th in the entire primitive ancient sacred world. He was none other than the great Void Heaven Temple's Dongbu Shuang. This chapter seemed slightly slow. Mn. Chapter 946. On the battle platform. Dongbua Shuiying suddenly kept the 7 destruction flowers, causing Bai Yun Palace Master who was trapped within to fall into a daze. The world outside the translucent black flower petals was blurry, but now, the world in front of him became clear. The distant white-robed young man stood there. He said, "Bai Yun Palace Master, do you want to continue with the test?" His voice sounded by his ears. Bai Yun Palace Master looked at Shuiying with a complex expression. He then turned around and turned into a stream of light before flying towards the high platform. He returned to his seat and sat down silently without saying a word. He was clear. Primal chaos giants were scattered across the 5 great sacred worlds and the vast primal chaos void. It might seem few, but there were quite a few. The Great Void Heaven Temple had 12 of them. Primogenitor Island and Jade Light Sacred Ground had deeper foundations, and their numbers were not any lesser than the Great Void Heaven Temple. There were also many primal chaos giants who did not join a holy ground. Just the 7-star oceanic sacred world alone had close to 100 primal chaos giants. Of the 5 great sacred worlds, the ancient sacred world was the biggest and strongest, followed by the myriad ancient sacred world, ancestor mother world, eastern unicorn sacred world, and 7-star oceanic sacred world. In addition to the many wars in the past, there were even sacred worlds that were created shattered. Many disheartened primal chaos giants had scattered across the vast primal chaos void. There were even some cosmos gods scattered across the primal chaos void. Hence, the statuses of primal chaos giants were divided. If a primal chaos giant only had the strength of the 6th floor of Star Tower, he would be looked down upon the most. He would be at the bottom, and most would not be willing to come out. They would either live in seclusion or occupy a desolate place to be their overlord. Those at the 7th level like Bai Yun Palace Master and Clear Song Island Master were the most commonly seen. The majority of primal chaos giants were at the 7th level, and those like Heaven Weeping Sect Master who had a deeper foundation were at the peak of the 7th level. Overall, this level was not bad. At least, other primal chaos giants would give them face when they roamed around. Because this was the most commonly seen level. The 8th level was truly amazing. There were relatively fewer of them, and their statuses were noble too. 5 Luster Serpent Ancestor, Violet Slaughter Island Master, General Heaven Light, and Ancestor Devil were all at this level. There were much fewer of them. For instance, the teachers of the Star Convention represented their holy grounds, and cosmos gods felt that it was not bad. Of course, there were some extremely strong ones like the Inquisitive Sky Palace Master and the 9 Dragons Empyrean. They were existences at the peak of the 8th layer. The demonic ancestor had challenged the Inquisitive Sky Palace Master and was easily defeated. The 9th floor? Their strength had reached the Cosmos God level, and most could survive against Cosmos Gods. Cosmos Gods would also treat them as equals. 7th level Unity Realm. Bai Yun Palace Master felt envy and jealousy in his heart. This Dongbua Shuiying will reach the peak of the 8th level soon after stepping into the Primal Chaos Realm. There's even a high chance of him stepping into the 9th level. There had only been a total of 8 in history, and 7 of them had reached the 9th level. Naturally, some of them died, and some became Cosmos Gods. This time, his name will truly spread throughout the entire Primal Chaos Void. Countless experts will know his name. As for me, I will be the stepping stone for him to become famous. Bai Yun Palace Master felt his heart being bitten by the other party. But he did not have any thoughts of becoming enemies with the other party because the gap was too huge. The peak of the 8th level could easily kill an ordinary 7th level expert. Dongbua Shuiying watched as Bai Yun Palace Master left obediently without saying a word. At the same time, many voices were transmitted by his ears. Elder Dongbua, congratulations for reaching the 7th level at the Unity Realm. In the future, it is possible for you to reach the 9th level. Elder Dongbua is amazing. Not only did you step into the 7th level, you can even suppress Bai Yun Palace Master. Admirable, admirable. I am actually fortunate enough to witness this battle that is destined to be recorded in history. How fortunate! Many primal chaos giants were transmitting their voices over. They were extremely passionate. Some of them had even lowered their stance as if they were willing to be a head lower than Dongwu Shuang. Because primal chaos experts similarly had to face all sorts of tribulations and dangers, they were extremely willing to befriend Dongwu Shuang. Before this, they still looked down on Dongwu Shuang and were too lazy to speak with him. Instinctively, they felt that they were not on the same level. They felt that it was possible for Dongwu Shuang to be stuck at the Unity Realm forever. Naturally, it was different now. Furthermore, the majority of them were merely at the 7th level, and were not much stronger than Bai Yun Palace Master. I still have to continue lecturing on the Tao. Fellow cultivators, please forgive me. Dongwu Shuang transmitted a reply to those who were transmitting to him. He then turned to look downwards. Many cultivators below were already boiling with excitement. A Unity Realm expert was actually suppressing a Primal Chaos Realm expert? Some of the more experienced Unity Realm experts had already transmitted a message to their companions. Many of them understood that this was a Unity Realm 7th level legend. Now I shall continue lecturing on the Tao. Dongwu Shuiying's voice transmitted into the ears of every single cultivator below. At the same time, he teleported the 300 Unity Realm cultivators up. Hoo! The 300 Unity Realm cultivators landed on the battle platform. They were all excited. They were actually chosen and had the chance to seek guidance from a Unity Realm 7th level existence. In terms of understanding of the Unity Realm, Dongwu Shuang cultivated the laws and profound mysteries system. It could be said that no one present dared to say that their understanding was more thorough than Dongwu Shuang. Senior Dongwu. The 300 Unity Realm cultivators respectfully bowed. This was a form of respect towards a senior. One by one, Dongwu Shuang then began guiding them. Not just the cultivators below, or the primal chaos giants above, they were all listening attentively. Even Heart Imitation Religious Master, Xinghu Emperor, General Hatchet Palace Master, and others were listening seriously. After a total of 18 hours, he had finished guiding the 300 Unity Realm cultivators. Dongwu Shuang controlled the void to send these 300 cultivators down. This time, I have finished lecturing on the Tao. It is time for the other teachers of the convention. Dongwu Shuang laughed. He then turned into a stream of light and flew up the high platform, returning to his seat. According to the order, General Heaven Light stood up. He looked at Dongwu Shuang by the side. In the past, General Heaven Light had always been blunt. Deep in his bones, he looked down on Unity Realm experts, feeling that it was an insult to him to be placed on the same level as him. But at this moment, a rare smile appeared on his face. He first smiled at Dongwu Shuang, causing Dongwu Shuang to feel a chill in his heart. This General Heaven Light was bald, and his entire body was faintly covered in a faint golden light. His attitude had suddenly changed as he smiled at Dongwu Shuang, causing Dongwu Shuang to feel slightly unaccustomed. General Heaven Light chuckled and said, Elder Dongwu's lecture on the Tao has given me a huge pressure. My lecture on the Tao might not be as good as Elder Dongwu's, but I will naturally do my best. His voice reverberated across the entire convention ground. General Heaven Light is overpraising me. Dongwu Shuang immediately replied. I am speaking the truth. Below the Primal Chaos Realm, there aren't many who dares to compare with Elder Dongwu in lecturing on the Tao. General Tianguang smiled. After that, he took a step forward as his silhouette vanished into thin air, reappearing on the battle platform below. He was dressed in gray robes as he sat on the platform, his entire body glowing with golden light. His voice reverberated through the air as he started to preach. The 5 teachers of the convention began lecturing on the Tao. Dongwu Shuang, General Heaven Light, 5 Luster Serpent Ancestor, Violet Slaughter Island Master, and the last one was General Hatchet Palace Master. As for Dongwu Shuang, who sat on the high platform and could relax while listening to others lecturing on the Tao, he was not idle at all. It was fine for the surrounding primal chaos experts to transmit their messages. Experts from the three great sacred worlds and even experts from the primal chaos void had sent messages to him through the 7-star oceanic pavilion. At the very least, they would congratulate him. Clearly, as his status was high, most of the primal chaos giants would not be lacking in manners. Dongbush Shuaying would simply respond to them politely. As for the hall masters of the Great Void Heaven Temple and those with higher statuses, he had to treat them seriously. Dongbush Shuaying lectured on the Tao for 9 days. As for the other primal chaos experts, they were relatively shorter, usually 5 to 6 days. General Hatchet Palace Master had maintained his lowest duration of 3 days. More importantly, in terms of Tao discussion, the laws and profound mysteries system was better. The majority of the other systems would be able to display it. This star convention shall end here. Heart imitation religious master's voice reverberated across the entire venue. Many cultivators were still pondering over some of the experiences they had while listening to the Tao lecture. They were still in a daze, but a large number of them began leaving. On the high platform above, all of them stood up and left. Elder Dongbua! Elder Dongbua! Several primal chaos experts walked over. They even invited Dongbua Shuaying to join their gathering. Your son's eyesight is not bad. General Hatchet Palace Master and Xinghu Emperor walked side by side. If you want to take Dongbua Shuaying as your teacher, he will definitely be the best teacher in the Tao of Mirage. Ha! Xinghu Emperor laughed. Seeing how dazzling Dongbua Shuaying was, Xinghu Emperor felt joy from the bottom of his heart. Right at this moment, Heart Imitation Religious Master walked over to the side of Dongbua Shuaying. Several primal chaos experts who invited Dongbua Shuaying by the side moved to the side. The 9th level Heart Imitation Religious Master still made them feel pressured. Dongbua. Heart Imitation Religious Master chuckled. He then transmitted. Blade Emperor asked me to pass on a message for you to head to the Star Pagoda now and attempt it. Not just Blade Emperor, but several Cosmos Gods will be watching you attempt it. Several Cosmos Gods? Dongbua Shuaying was startled. This was the first time several Cosmos Gods were paying attention to him. In the past, only Forefather Tianyu from the Great Void Heaven Temple and Sword Master were paying attention to him. They merely thought that he had a chance of becoming a Hall Master. Nevertheless, now that the strongest Blade Emperor of the 6 Great Holy Grounds and several other Cosmos Gods were paying attention to him, it was clear that he had entered the vision of the higher-ups of the 6 Great Holy Grounds. This was normal too. According to past experiences, the probability of Dongbua Shuaying stepping into the 9th level Star Pagoda was extremely high. Alright, I'll head to the Star Pagoda now. Dongbua Shuaying transmitted. Heart Imitation Religious Master chuckled and nodded. I'll send you over. Chapter 947. 7-star Oceanic Sacred World, Great Void Heaven Temple. Forefather Tianyu and Sword Master sat side by side. The two of them were chatting happily while watching the scene in front of them. It was the scene of Dongbua Shuaying being accompanied by Heart Imitation Religious Master to the entrance of the Star Pagoda. Because it had been half a month since Dongbua Shuaying's Tao lecture, Forefather Tianyu and Sword Master were naturally prepared to watch Dongbua Shuaying attempt the Star Pagoda. Because the 6 Great Holy Grounds were like a single entity, the other Cosmos Gods were also paying close attention to Dongbua Shuaying. That time, I felt that this brat's potential is quite high, and it is possible for him to step into the primal chaos realm. Forefather Tianyu chuckled. But who would have thought that I have underestimated him? He actually reached the 7th level strength at the Unity realm so quickly. Maybe in the future, my Great Void Heaven Temple might have another 9th level Star Pagoda expert. By then, my Great Void Heaven Temple will be like the Blade Emperor City, having 2 9th level Star Pagoda experts among the 6 Great Holy Grounds. Currently, of the 6 Great Holy Grounds, only the Blade Emperor City had 2 9th level Star Pagoda experts. The Great Void Heaven Temple only had 1 Primal Chaos Hall Master. The Primogenitor Island only had 1 General Hatchet Palace Master. Hence, it was rare for him to be the teacher of the convention, forcing the Blade Emperor City to let Heart Imitation Religious Master host the event. In addition, Xinghua Hall Master was there for the sake of his son. Hence, there were a total of 3 9th-level Star Pagoda experts participating in the Star Convention this time. This was rarely seen in history. Furthermore, there was even a Unity Realm 7th-level expert appearing in this Star Convention. That was even rarer. Who knows, he might become a Cosmos God. Sword Master chuckled. Cosmos God? That is difficult. Forefather Tianyu sighed. Every Cosmos God has their own Tao path. It is only you, Sword Master, who is amazing, cultivating alone in the cosmos to reach the primal chaos realm. After coming to the Great Void Heaven Temple to read through the books before entering closed-door cultivation, you will become a Cosmos God. Sword Master was indeed a legend. Before Sword Master became a Cosmos God, he was not famous across the entire primal chaos void. People only knew that a primal chaos existence had suddenly appeared in the Great Void Heaven Temple called Sword Master. Not long later, this primal chaos existence became a Cosmos God. Naturally, the shock it brought about was much greater than what Dongbush Shuang experienced. Countless experts were dumbfounded. Several Cosmos Gods were watching from afar. Because they were from the 6 great holy grounds, the Star Pagoda allowed them to watch the battle happening within. Several Cosmos Gods are watching. You have to do your best, Heart Imitation Religious Master said. Of course. Dongbush Shuang directly flew into the Star Pagoda. Although this was the Star Pagoda of the Blade Emperor City, it was refined exactly the same as the one in the Great Void Heaven Temple. Dongbush Shuang was very familiar with it. Who? On the 7th level of Star Pagoda, a blood-colored stream of light surged out from deep within the mountain range. It condensed into 10 figures. They were the 10 destruction devils wearing blood-colored armor. They were slightly different from the opponents at the 7th level of Star Pagoda in the Great Void Heaven Temple. But Dongbush Shuang knew that the difficulty should be the same. Go. Dongbush Shuang sent a thought. A black flower bud appeared from nothingness. It caused a frightening surge of world energy that enveloped the 10 destruction devils. With a thought, many flowers appeared one after another. A total of 7 black flower buds appeared. One flower wrapped around the other, and the innermost layer was the 10 startled destruction devils. After all, Dongbush Shui Ying's technique descended from the void, and it could not be dodged at all. The surrounding maelstrom of world energy had yet to dissipate when Dongbush Shuang shouted, "Extinguish!" He did not show any mercy. He immediately unleashed 7 destruction flowers at the same time. Hong hong hong! Even when facing Bai Yun Palace Master, Dongbush Shuang was not so ruthless. The 7 black flower buds bloomed at the same time. When it bloomed beautifully, it was also the moment when its destructive power was revealed. The 10 destruction devils let out ear-piercing roars of shock and fury. When everything dissipated, it revealed the 2 heavily injured destruction devils within. With just a single full-powered move, the other 8 destruction devils had died, and 2 were heavily injured. These 2 had extremely strong defenses. It was primarily because the power of the 7 destruction flowers of Dongbush Shuang was dispersed across the 10 destruction devils, allowing them to survive. The remaining 2 destruction devils were horrified. They wanted to escape. But it was too late. Extinguish! Dongbush Shuang once again unleashed the 7 black destruction flowers. When the destruction flowers bloomed, those 2 remaining destruction devils had died too. That time, I've unleashed my domain, Illusory Realm, and Sky Punishment Edge. I've risked my life and relied on my body's defenses to hold on, spending a long time before killing 8 destruction devils. But now, they have been exterminated in the blink of an eye. Dongbush Shuang sighed in his heart. He knew that his combat power should be considered not bad in the 7th floor of Star Tower. According to his judgment, just a single destruction flower was sufficient to reach the threshold of the 7th floor of Star Tower. Since he could unleash 7 flowers, he would naturally be much stronger? Let's go and have a look at the 8th floor. Dongbush Shuang wanted to experience the power of the 8th floor. Xiao! He charged into the sky and flew into the maelstrom passage high up in the sky. The 8th level of Star Tower was actually an enormous battle platform. Countless golden light condensed on the surface of the battle platform, condensing into an expert of a foreign race wearing a tight-fitting golden armor. That golden armor was as tight as skin. He had 3 thin and long tails, and the tips of the tails were incredibly sharp. He had 2 arms that reached his knees. Golden-armored destruction devil. Dongbua Shuang thought. He understood quite a bit of information regarding the destruction devils. The destruction devils were divided into 3 main grades: gray-armored, blood-armored, and golden-armored. The weakest of the golden-armored destruction devils were at the 7th floor of Star Tower, and the strongest were at the 9th floor. And above them, there were also destruction devils that were comparable to cosmos gods. They did not have any specific appearances, and when they kept their wicked destructive aura within, most primal chaos existences would find it hard to discover them. Unity Realm? This golden-armored destruction devil looked at Dongbua Shuang with slight shock. Exterminate! Dongbua Shuang did not hesitate to send down 7 destruction flowers. Under the power of the 7 destruction flowers, even though the skin of this golden-armored destruction devil was slightly damaged, it recovered in the blink of an eye. Die! He immediately forced his way into the region 500 kilometers away from Dongbua Shuang. Because this region was within Dongbua Shuang's law domain, a law domain reconstructed using the structure of the destruction flowers, this destruction devil could not teleport in, and could only rely on his speed to kill his way in. Too fast. Dongbua Shuang hurriedly unleashed the destruction flowers, yet his speed was still too slow. He was forced to teleport and evade. Even when 1 or 2 flowers enveloped him, the other party would immediately tear apart and rush out. The destruction devil was too fast. Dongbua Shuang's offense could not do anything to the other party. Just a few rounds later, he was forced to give up. It seems that I am still far from the 8th level. Dongbua Shuang sighed. Even my strongest offense is far from enough. I have to reach the primal chaos realm before I can try again. Several cosmos gods who were watching the battle from afar were praising him. Even though there were 2 Unity Realm experts who attempted the 8th level in the history of Star Pagoda, one of them was Heart Imitation Religious Master who had admitted defeat almost instantaneously. The other was Great Emperor Jin from the Jade Light Sacred Territory. He relied on his absolute domain and defense to hold on for a few rounds. Dongbua Shuang relied on his offense to hold on for a few rounds. The 7 destruction flowers still affected the speed of the destruction devil. In the Blade Emperor city, outside a small house by the lake, 2 figures were currently walking side by side. One was the golden-robed Blade Emperor, and the other was a male wearing a light gray loose gown. He was none other than Lord Lo Qing. Teacher, what do you think of this Dongbua Shuang? Blade Emperor chuckled. His attitude was humble. If these words of his were to be spread out, it would most likely shake the entire primal chaos void. Because nobody knew that the strongest expert of the 6 great holy grounds, Blade Emperor, was actually the disciple of Lord Lo Qing. How could a Blade Emperor be the disciple of a primal chaos realm expert? He has some potential. Place him in the reserve list. Lord Lo Qing chuckled. He is still too tender. It is still too early. Amen. Blade Emperor nodded obediently. Actually, compared to his strength, I am slightly startled by how calm he is. Lord Lo Qing said with astonishment. He has revealed his strength during the Star Convention, and his name has spread across the primal chaos void. Many primal chaos realm experts have befriended him, and at this moment, he is extremely famous. According to logic, even those with a strong heart realm would be in high spirits at this moment. But he is extremely calm. I do not feel that he is that excited. Blade Emperor was startled. He nodded. Right, that is indeed the case. Interesting. A grin appeared on Lord Lo Qing's face. The 2 of them did not know. In the heart of Dongbua Shuang, the person he wanted to deal with was the current strongest expert of the primal chaos void, Sacred Master. Even his teacher Gu Qi had died in the hands of the other party. Dongbu Shuang asked himself that even though this little achievement of his was worth rejoicing over, there was no need for him to be excited. He was still on the Tao path, and the distance between him and Sacred Master was far beyond. Great Void God Palace. Void Primogenitor sat by himself. His gaze could cover every single part of the primal chaos void. But even though the vast void was vast and filled with countless living beings, his disciple Gu Qi was nowhere to be seen. Seeing how dazzling his disciple Dongbu Shuang was, he was delighted. But Gu Qi could not see him. He could not forget that after the battle between Dongbu Shuang and Lei Yan, Gu Qi was so excited that he had no one to talk to. He even dragged Void Primogenitor to talk to him for a long time. Gu Qi, Void Primogenitor muttered. Your disciple Dongbu Shuang is currently the strongest Unity Realm expert in the 5 great sacred worlds. He is even at the Unity Realm level 7. If you knew about this, you would most likely be very happy. Chapter 948. In midair outside Blade Emperor City. Sun Yi, it is your opportunity to become the disciple of Elder Dongbo. This time, you must cultivate properly. If you could step into the primal chaos realm in the future, it would be a great story for us father and son to be at the primal chaos realm. Xinghua Emperor stood there. His unseen aura was leaking out naturally, but his cold and tyrannical aura made every cultivator present feel pressured. Even though he treated Dongbu Shuang politely because of his son, he was ultimately in existence standing at the peak of the primal chaos realm, and had reached the cosmos god level. Yes, father. The golden-robed young man Xinghua Sun Yi solemnly acknowledged. He was currently filled with fighting spirit. Go. Xinghua Emperor nodded. South. Xinghua Sun Yi immediately flew towards Dongbu Shuang, inquisitive Sky Hall Master, and several dozen disciples not far away. Other than the 10 core members of this star convention, there were 190 others who passed the preliminaries. They had chosen the 6 great holy grounds, and quite a few chose the Great Void Heaven Temple. But the amount of nurturing they received was ordinary. Monarch, the few of us will be leaving first. Inquisitive Sky Hall Master and Dongbu Shuang announced. Following that, a distorted spatial corridor appeared by the side. Inquisitive Sky Hall Master brought Dongbu Shuang and the others and flew into it. Xinghua Emperor stood there watching until all of them disappeared. It is good that this brat could regain his morale. I hope that under the guidance of that elder Dongbu, a miracle could happen. Xinghua Emperor thought. He was different from his eldest son who had experienced too many setbacks. When his youngest son Sun Yi was born, Xinghua Emperor had already reached the 9th level Star Pagoda strength. His youngest son Sun Yi had experienced comparatively fewer setbacks, and he was more tender. He had grown from an infant under his eyes. Xinghua Emperor waved his sleeves. Sila! A pitch-black spatial passage appeared in front. Xinghua Emperor took a step before disappearing from the vicinity. This is the Great Void Heaven Temple? Dongbu Shuang and the inquisitive Sky Hall Master looked at the disciples around them. This was the first time they had entered the Great Void Heaven Temple, and all of them looked at the vast space in front of them in awe. On the huge floating continent in the distance, the majestic Great Void Palace emitted billions of rays of light. The light illuminated every corner of the entire space, covering the countless buildings on the floating islands in a layer of light. Swish! A figure flew over from afar. It was a green-robed man. He bowed respectfully and said, Greetings, Inquisitive Sky Palace Master, Elder Dongbo MM. Go and make arrangements for these new disciples. Inquisitive Heavenly Palace Master instructed. Yes. The green-robed male answered respectfully. He then looked at Xinghua Sun Yi and the others. Junior brothers, please follow me. Hence, Xinghua Sun Yi and the rest could only obediently leave and accept their arrangements. From then on, they started cultivating in the Great Void Heaven Temple. Go, go, go! Many Hall Masters have prepared a banquet and are just waiting for you. Inquisitive Sky Hall Master urged. Oh? Dongbu Shuang was startled. Haha, many of them are attending the banquet with their true bodies. Even two hall masters who are defending against the destruction devils at the boundary of the void have rushed over. Inquisitive Sky Hall Master chuckled. Your reputation is really huge. Dongbu Shuang added. Hurry up and don't let them wait for too long. Go. Inquisitive Sky Hall Master and Dongbu Shuang immediately turned into streams of light and flew towards the Primal Chaos Palace located at the center of the huge continent. The Primal Chaos Palace occupied a huge area. Currently, a banquet had been prepared within an elegant palace hall. So! Dongbu Shuang and Inquisitive Sky Hall Master landed outside the palace. They immediately stepped through the door sill and entered. The seats within the palace were placed in groups of 2 or 3 without any order. Some were already holding on to a flask of wine and drinking, and some were chatting with others by the side. Dongbu is here. Hurry. You are the only one left. These hall masters noticed that Dongbu Shuang had entered and immediately urged him with a smile. Dongbu Shuang also discovered that there was only one empty seat left. As for Inquisitive Sky Hall Master, his true body had long arrived here, and his incarnations had dissipated like bubbles. This time, Dongbu has greatly increased the reputation of my Great Void Heaven Temple. Unity Realm 7th level, haha, my Great Void Heaven Temple has finally produced an absolute talent at the Unity Realm 7th level. Celestial Water Hall Master chuckled. Dongbu, hurry up and take a seat. Ancestor Devil added. Those hall masters who could rush over have sent their true bodies over. The other incarnations have other matters to attend to. The majority of them are still defending against the destruction devils at the boundary of the void and can't leave. Ancestor Devil was relatively emotional too. In his hometown Cosmos, in that era, he had met an absolute talent like Sword Master. Even though he had the heart to fight, he understood the gap between the two of them was huge. Initially, he was already an absolute overlord. It was only then that Sword Master gradually rose. Nevertheless, the Sword Master's cultivation speed was incredibly fast. After he surpassed Ancestor Devil felt the gap between them becoming bigger. Sword Master had even become a cosmos god when he arrived at the Great Void Heaven Temple. He similarly entered closed-door cultivation frequently, and the gap between them should be even more exaggerated. It was fine if it was Sword Master, but now, in the era after his hometown Cosmos, Dongbu Shuang had actually risen. He had reached the 7th level at the Unity Realm. Unquestionably, he would be able to reach the peak of the 8th level after cultivating for a period. That was sufficient to suppress him. Dongbu Shuang sat down. He was startled. Resisting against the destruction devils? The situation is so serious? Ever since the shattering of the primitive ancient sacred world, destruction devils have appeared at the boundary of the void. Over time, the number of destruction devils has increased. My Great Void Heaven Temple is also responsible for a region. Fortunately, Forefather has been guarding it for a long period, and a few of us can rely on Inquisitive Sky Hall Master to help us return frequently. Leading Wing Hall Master flapped his wings before shaking his head slightly. Forefather guarding it? Dongbu Shuang was startled. Right, the Forefather within the Great Void Heaven Temple is merely an incarnation. Haha, the realm of Forefather is extremely high. You can't see through it, right? This gathering was also a gathering where the Hall Masters of the Great Void Heaven Temple and Dongbu Shuang became friends of the same generation. They were clear that not long later, Dongbu Shuang would become the 13th Hall Master of the Great Void Heaven Temple. Lingyan Peak. Within the cultivation room of Dongbu Shuang's cavern dwelling. After the gathering ended, Dongbu Shuang returned to the cultivation room. He first lit an incense before sitting cross-legged on the silver silk praying mat to meditate. It is time for me to cultivate properly. Dongbu Shuang felt that it was time for him to meditate and break through to the primal chaos realm. He then closed his eyes. He did not care about the disturbances of the external world. All his thoughts were placed on the Tao of Mirage. He was carefully comprehending all sorts of profound mysteries of the Tao of Mirage. After creating the destruction flower, he had yet to thoroughly comprehend the Tao of Mirage. At this moment, When he started comprehending, many comprehensions appeared in his heart. Dongbu Shuang has already entered closed-door cultivation. By the time he comes out, he should be at the primal chaos realm. At another location within the Great Void Heaven Temple, the hunchbacked old man forefather Tianyu chuckled. My Great Void Heaven Temple will also have another primal chaos realm expert. He specializes in the illusory realm. By then, I can tell him about some matters. We will need him to contribute to the Great Void Heaven Temple. Sword Master nodded. Like Unity Realm experts, they would usually roam around taking on all sorts of missions to temper themselves. Only after reaching the 5th level Star Pagoda and becoming an Inner Hall Elder would they be allowed to head to the boundary of the Void to fight. In reality, the battles at the boundary of the Void were mainly fought by Forefather Tianyu and the Primal Chaos Realm Giants. The Inner Hall Elders went there firstly for resources, and secondly for tempering themselves. Primal Chaos Realm experts were the main fighting force, and only they were qualified to know more secrets. This Dongbu Shuang is indeed extraordinary. He did not flaunt his achievements at all. Sword Master praised. Maybe this brat wants to deal against Sacred Master. Forefather Tianyu chuckled. Haha, the ignorant are fearless. This is a good thing. Sword Master shook his head. I am also preparing to enter closed-door cultivation. Amen, you don't have to care about other matters. I can arrange them properly. Just focus on cultivating. When you are 100% confident, it will be time to act. Forefather Tianyu's eyes were filled with coldness. By then, the other 5 great holy grounds will not hesitate to support my Great Void Heaven Temple. Even if the 7-star oceanic sacred world collapses, it will be worth it. At the worst, we can just establish another sacred world. Sword Master solemnly nodded. I will definitely not disappoint everyone. A new chapter began. There was only one chapter today. Star. Chapter 949. Great Void Heaven Temple, Lingyun Peak, within the cavern-dwelling cultivation room. Dongbu Shuang cultivated by himself. His accumulations were too deep, and before he created the destruction flower, he was already 100% confident of stepping into the primal chaos realm. And now, he created the destruction flower, and just as he concentrated on cultivating, he was gaining new insights. His understanding of the Tao of Mirage was also deepening. Amen? After cultivating for slightly more than a month, Dongbu Shuang was slightly startled. He opened his eyes. Who would have thought that I would be the first ancient cultivator to step into the primal chaos realm? That's right. Even though he was focusing on the Tao of Mirage and had yet to grasp the complete Tao of Mirage at the primal chaos realm, he naturally comprehended the 7th transformation of the ancient cultivation inheritance, Cinnabar. Because the Cinnabar inheritance was originally an illusory realm type, the 7th transformation represented the lowest strength of the Cinnabar inheritance at the primal chaos realm, and he could only reach the 6th floor of Star Tower after cultivating it. The 6th transformation represented the 5th level strength. The 7th transformation represented the lowest 6th level strength at the primal chaos realm. The 8th transformation represented the 7th level strength, and the final 9th transformation of Cinnabar was the 8th level Star Pagoda strength. The 8th level Star Pagoda strength represented a very high height. But to reach the legendary 9th level strength? Just the Cinnabar inheritance was insufficient. Black Emperor had cultivated 4 great inheritances at the same time, of which 3 great inheritances had reached grand perfection. Time to break through. Dongbu Shuang shook his head inwardly. The profound mysteries contained in the 7th transformation of Cinnabar were shallow. After all, the evolved Cinnabar inheritance was comparable to it. He did not even need to grasp the complete Tao of Mirage at the primal chaos realm. The laws and profound mysteries system had a high requirement, and he had to grasp it absolutely. But in the ancient cultivation system, it was fine if he could execute it. And now, Dongbu Shuang could clearly execute it. After breaking through, my soul will become stronger, and I can cultivate faster. Dongbu Shuang no longer hesitated. He waved his hand. bringing out some precious resources that he had prepared. He had to rely on resources to step into the primal chaos realm. The seventh transformation of Cinnabar's inheritance was more peaceful, but it was more beneficial to the soul. Naturally, Dongbua Shui Ying's soul was becoming stronger. But suddenly, rumble! Quantitative change leads to qualitative change. Dongbua Shui Ying's soul immediately underwent a qualitative transformation. This was a transformation that would occur when a Unity Realm expert stepped into the Primal Chaos Realm. In the sacred world, the incarnations of Unity Realm experts could not travel too far away from their true bodies. But Primal Chaos Realm giants could send their incarnations over 1 trillion kilometers away with a thought. Furthermore, their incarnations could even take the initiative to leave and drift in the Primal Chaos Void towards other sacred worlds. When the various Hall Masters of the Great Void Heaven Temple came to congratulate Dongbua Shuiying, many of their true bodies were still far away at the edge of the void, but their incarnations could return. Could a Unity Realm expert do it? A Unity Realm expert couldn't even reach 1/millionth of the distance. Was the gap between their soul strengths really that big? Obviously not. Strictly speaking, it was still a problem of quality. 1/2 kilogram of water and 1/2 kilogram of steel might be the same in terms of quantity. But in terms of strength, under normal circumstances, steel would win. Furthermore, it would be a crushing victory. This was the difference in quality. Naturally, if 1/2 kilogram of water formed a high-pressure water blade, it might be able to cut steel. A heaven-defying genius at the Unity Realm might be able to defeat a Primal Chaos Realm expert. But if a Primal Chaos Realm expert became stronger, they could forge steel into various weapons, and their power would naturally be more terrifying. This feeling is too wonderful. Dongbua Shuiying felt his soul sensing the surroundings. With a thought, his senses rapidly covered the entire Great Void and even penetrated out of the Great Void. Shio! His senses immediately spread out. This was much faster than any teleportation. In the time it took for a thought, he was able to sense more than half of the sacred world. That's right, more than half of the sacred world. He could even vaguely sense the location of the Primogenitor Island. But this feeling was very vague. It was like a mortal looking down from high up in the sky. Everything was blurry, and he could barely sense the outline of the mountain range and the terrain. Within this region, he could even send an incarnation down with a thought. When he deliberately released his senses, this feeling would be very vague. It was like a mortal looking into the distance, and another mortal would not be able to sense it. Similarly, even Primal Chaos Realm giants could not sense this vague feeling from afar. Only a few might be able to sense it. But Cosmos Gods were different. The law domain of Cosmos Gods formed their own cosmos system, and they were extremely sensitive to any senses. Amen? Within the Great Void Heaven Temple, Forefather Tian Yu, who was in his own courtyard, felt it. He revealed a look of astonishment before chuckling in the direction of Lingyun Peak. Dongbua, congratulations for stepping into the Primal Chaos Realm. Forefather. Dongbua Shuiying immediately replied. Haha, you have just entered closed-door cultivation for a month or so, and you have broken through. That is really fast. When are you planning to open the 13th Palace Hall of my Great Void Heaven Temple? Forefather Tian Yu asked. There's no rush. Wait till I consolidate everything. Dongbua Shuiying transmitted back. All right. Forefather Tian Yu understood that most cultivators would have a period of consolidation after breaking through. During this period, cultivators were not too willing to be disturbed by external matters. Primogenitor Island. The true body of Devil Mountain Primogenitor was a true black mountain peak. 2 eyes opened on the mountain wall. Haha, Dongbua Shuiying, congratulations for stepping into the Primal Chaos Realm. Devil Mountain Primogenitor directly transmitted. Dongbua Shuiying's senses enveloped the entire Primogenitor Island. Even though this feeling was vague, and even Dongbua Shuiying could barely discern the outer appearance of the Primogenitor Island, Devil Mountain Primogenitor could still easily detect him. Amen? There were many myriad world taverns in the 7-star oceanic sacred world. Within every myriad world tavern, there was a master. They were the avatars of Myriad World Tavern Master. They looked towards the direction of the Great Void Heaven Temple almost at the same time. Another Primal Chaos Realm expert? Myriad World Tavern Master chuckled. Donghua Shuang? Another formidable young fellow has appeared in the 5 great sacred worlds. Donghua, congratulations. Properly cultivate, and in the future, my Great Void Heaven Temple will have another 9th level Star Pagoda expert. Primal Chaos Hall Master sensed it too. They were both at the 9th level Star Pagoda strength, but General Hatchet Palace Master specialized in the strongest warrior system, and could not sense it at all. As for Primal Chaos Hall Master, his control over his surroundings was many times more acute. That was comparable to Cosmos Gods. The 9th level Star Pagoda strength? That is a little too far for me temporarily. Donghua Shuang chuckled. The more he understood, the more reverence he felt towards the 9th level Star Pagoda strength. The difficulty of reaching the 9th level Star Pagoda strength was comparable to reaching the 7th level at the Unity Realm. But there were relatively more experts at the 9th level Star Pagoda strength. Why? Because many Primal Chaos Realm giants had broken through to the Primal Chaos Realm after reaching the 5th level Star Pagoda strength. Some broke through at the 6th level strength. After all, there were not many who were determined to reach the 7th level from the Unity Realm before breaking through. Even if they wanted to do so, they would discover that it was too difficult to reach the 7th level. In the end, they would give up and break through to the Primal Chaos Realm first. Donghua Shuang had accumulated enough. In addition to the influence of his teacher's death on his heart realm, it allowed him to create it in one fell swoop. But it was different for Primal Chaos Realm experts. They wanted to step into the Cosmos God realm, and this was the final and hardest barrier in all cultivation realms. Many generations of absolute cultivators were stuck at this stage. They could only temper themselves and chase after the limits. Only then would some 9th level Star Pagoda strength emerge. Even so, the number of 9th level Star Pagoda experts was slightly lesser than the number of Cosmos Gods. After the ancient cultivation Cinnabar inheritance broke through to the Primal Chaos Realm, Donghua Ying's soul became stronger. Furthermore, there was a qualitative transformation. His cultivation and deduction speed had clearly increased. This time, there were no twists and turns. It was extremely normal. Just 300 years after entering closed-door cultivation, his Tao of Mirage had reached the Primal Chaos Realm. Hong! The Mirage origin in his body finally exploded. It began evolving towards the Primal Chaos Cosmos. This was how the laws and profound mysteries system broke through to the Primal Chaos Realm. Chapter 950. The Primal Chaos Cosmos was the earliest form of the cosmos. At this moment, the myriad existences had yet to be born, and it contained endless possibilities. But to transform the Primal Chaos Cosmos into a true cosmos, the laws were relatively simple and pure. As for the operation of the cosmos, the laws were much more complex. This complexity was not chaos. Instead, it was a perfect whole formed by the myriad existences. That was why many absolute geniuses could reach the 9th level Star Pagoda strength at the Primal Chaos Realm, yet they could not break through. The difficulty of breaking through was too high. According to historical records, those who broke through to the Cosmos God realm would at least reach the peak of the 8th level strength. Even though there was no Star Pagoda during the primitive ancient sacred world era, and many experts in the ancient sacred world and ancestor mother world had never attempted the Star Pagoda, one could still compare their strength. One could determine that those who could break through to the Cosmos God realm had deep accumulations, and were at least at the peak of the 8th level. Hong long long. A maelstrom of world energy formed in the cultivation room. The maelstrom began collapsing, and a vast amount of world energy poured in from within. This world energy was being absorbed by Donghua Ying's inner cosmos, causing it to grow continuously. This disturbance was huge, and it attracted many discussions and guesses in the Great Void Heaven Temple. Such a huge disturbance originated from Lingyun Peak? Unless Elder Donghua had broken through to the Primal Chaos Realm? Someone else said. He has just entered closed-door cultivation for 300 years. How can it be so fast? Elder Dombo's mirage technique absorbs the world energy at an amazing rate. He might be practicing it. Elder Dombo is at the 7th floor of Star Tower at the Unity Realm. Isn't it normal for him to reach the Primal Chaos Realm after 300 years? Everyone was discussing. Dombo Shuang remained undisturbed during his closed-door cultivation. Forefather Tianyu and Primal Chaos Hall Master did not say anything to others either. After a long time, only then did the world energy maelstrom dissipate. The Primal Chaos Cosmos in his body was growing completely. Primal Chaos Cosmos is also known as a miniature cosmos. Dombo Shuang sensed the cosmos formed by the mirage origin in his body. This miniature cosmos was actually relatively vast. Primal chaos energy surged within. Many weak illusory realms were faintly extinguished. This was ultimately a cosmos developed using the Tao of Mirage as its foundation, and was known as the miniature Mirage Cosmos. The foundation is already there. I hope that in the future, this miniature universe can truly evolve successfully, nurture all living beings, and transform into a universe of its own. Dombo Shuang thought to himself. Then, he used the laws of the Mirage miniature universe to reconstruct his soul. However, as his ancient cultivation had already broken through before, the improvement to his soul this time was very small. It was only 20 to 30%. That was the case for dual cultivation. The first breakthrough would be the most helpful to the soul. Breakthroughs in other systems would only be icing on the cake, and the help would become weaker and weaker. Dombo Shuang then calmed himself down and continued comprehending the Tao of Mirage. Hua hua hua! He had just broken through. He had too many ideas about the operation of the void miniaturized universe. As the creator of the Flower of Destruction, he had experienced the beauty of perfection. Naturally, he was also pursuing the beauty of the laws of the void miniaturized universe. This was the difference in comprehension. After experiencing it, he was more purposeful in his pursuit. With a clear direction to pursue, the Tao of Mirage became more and more mysterious and complicated. Hong. Just over 5 million years in closed-door cultivation, Dombo Shuang had succeeded in cultivating the 8 transformations of the Cinnabar inheritance. This represented that the Cinnabar inheritance had the strength of the 7th floor of Star Tower. This wasn't a difficult task. Even ordinary primal chaos experts could reach the 7th level standard after cultivating for a long period. Ba Yun Palace Master's Imperial Dragon inheritance had reached the 7th level standard. But Ba Yun Palace Master had cultivated for countless years, and it seemed hard for him to improve. As for Dombo Shuang, he had only cultivated for slightly more than 5 million years. This duration was slightly frightening. One could foresee that it wasn't hard for Dombo Shuang to cultivate the 9 transformations of the Cinnabar inheritance. It's too slow. The deeper I go, the harder it is to comprehend the Tao of Mirage. The 9 transformations of the Cinnabar inheritance will most likely require a longer period of accumulation. Dombo Shuang had been wholeheartedly comprehending the Tao of Mirage for 10 million years before he finally understood that to reach the 9 transformations of the Cinnabar inheritance, he would need to spend hundreds of millions of years. He would need to accumulate for a long period of time. But if this spread out, it would make many primal chaos experts envious and jealous. One had to know that Ancestor Devil had cultivated for an extremely long period just to reach the 8th level strength. He even relied on the 6 great incarnation techniques to do so. Dombo Shuang did not need to temper himself. Just by entering closed-door cultivation, he could vaguely deduce that he would be able to reach the 9 transformations of the Cinnabar inheritance after spending a little more time. Time to cultivate the Tao of Slaughter. Dombo Shuang felt that his improvement in the Tao of Mirage was too slow. Thus, he began cultivating the Tao of Slaughter, which he specialized in. When he created the Destruction Flower, he fused the Tao of Mirage and Tao of Slaughter together. He had experienced that feeling of perfection in the Tao of Slaughter before, and it was extremely helpful to his cultivation of the Tao of Slaughter. Cultivating for half a month. The Imperial Dragon inheritance was already at the 7th transformation. After cultivating for 36 million years, he had only reached the 8th transformation in the Imperial Dragon inheritance. My talent in the Tao of Slaughter is indeed weaker than the Tao of Mirage. Dongbua Shuang silently made his judgment. Time to begin. Currently, both the Cinnabar inheritance and the Imperial Dragon inheritance have reached the 8th transformation. It is time for me to try and create the second style of the Destruction Flower. Dongbua Shui Ying's eyes were filled with anticipation. Destruction Flower. Being the creator, Dongbua Shuang understood that the Tao of Slaughter and Tao of Mirage contained within had to reach a balance. This was the prerequisite to creating the Destruction Flower. Hoo! Hence, in the cultivation room, illusory worlds kept on appearing. However, every time a new Destruction Flower was born, it would disintegrate. Right now, Dongbua Shui Ying's control over the Tao of Mirage and Tao of Slaughter was clearly much more profound than when he was at the Unity Realm. However, the difficulty of creating the Destruction Flower was much lower. Because creating a 7th-level Destruction Flower at the Unity Realm required absolute perfection. That represented a kind of extreme. However, it was different now. The Tao of Mirage and Tao of Slaughter could still be improved, and they were far from reaching the extreme. If he felt that the Destruction Flower lacked something, Dongbua Shuang could improve the Tao of Slaughter and Tao of Mirage to make up for it. Hence, in just another 38 million years. Hua! A black flower bud floated in midair in the cultivation room. Dongbua Shuang revealed a look of joy as he looked at the flower in front of him. This black flower bud had a total of 6 black leaves and 6 petals. Its structure was also much more complicated. Flower blooms. Dongbua Shuang smiled. The black flower bud bloomed. The flower had 6 petals. The 6 black petals and black leaves directly collapsed, turning into 6 black air currents that killed everything within, causing the interior to turn pitch black. Everything was destroyed. This move is much stronger. It is much stronger than the accumulation of 7 destruction flowers in the past. Dongbua Shuang deduced inwardly. It might be at the 8th level Star Pagoda power? This was merely a guess. After all, he could not be sure without challenging the Star Pagoda. Hoo! The surrounding 3 illusory worlds produced a 6-petal black flower at the same time. A total of 3 flowers. The burden on my heart energy is too huge. I can only unleash 3 flowers at the same time. Dongbua Shuang thought. If I did not cultivate the Cinnabar inheritance, I should only be able to unleash 1 flower at the same time. The Cinnabar inheritance allowed his soul to be roughly 3 to 4 times stronger than other primal chaos experts at the same level. Even though the Cinnabar inheritance seemed to have strengthened his soul significantly when he was at the Unity Realm, that was because his soul was at the Unity Realm at that time. If a primal chaos giant cultivated the Cinnabar inheritance, his soul would be too strong. Then the first 6 transformations of Cinnabar would not even be able to amplify his soul by a single fold. Hence, when he broke through to the primal chaos realm, the improvement in his soul was not that obvious. But 3 to 4 times was shocking enough. Time passed. In the blink of an eye, 190 million years had passed since Dongbua Shuang entered closed-door cultivation. Snow Eagle, I'm out. A message came. Dongbua Shuang, who was currently in closed-door cultivation, opened his eyes in joy. His communication treasure spirit had already received an order that others were not allowed to disturb him unless it was a huge matter. But the message from his wife, Jingqiu, could not be obstructed. Jingqiu is out? Dongbua Shuang was filled with joy. Hua! With a thought, the space by his side distorted. Dongbua Shuang took a step and entered it, heading towards his distant hometown cosmos. Master, there is a life form that suddenly left the great void heaven temple. A deep voice resounded within the courtyard. Forefather Tian Yu, who seemed to be asleep, abruptly opened his eyes. He revealed a solemn expression. Is there a special reason why you are here to report? Yes. I'm unable to determine how he left. I can only confirm that there is a life form that left within the region I am monitoring. The deep voice of the treasure spirit continued. Forefather Tian Yu had a solemn expression. This treasure spirit was the most secretive protective array treasure spirit of the Great Void Heaven Temple. It was jointly refined by Lord Lo Qing and Wu Zhu. With this protective array, the Great Void Heaven Temple could be considered impregnable. Even if it was the mysterious ultra-long-distance teleportation, this protective array could still monitor all lifeforms within the array even though it could not obstruct such teleportation. If there was an external life form, it would naturally be discovered. Who? Forefather Tian Yu asked. If Inquisitive Sky Hall Master were to help someone teleport through an ultra-long distance, the treasure spirit would not report it. Dongbua Shuang. The treasure spirit answered. Dongbua Shuang? Forefather Tian Yu was startled. He then asked, did he leave by himself, or did other experts bring him away? He left by himself. The treasure spirit answered. Forefather Tian Yu was stunned. Left by himself? Ultra-long-distance teleportation was extremely mysterious. Even the Void Walker lineage that specialized in controlling the void had to reach the Cosmos God realm. The lineage of Myriad Realm Tavern Master could do it too, but only a few of them could. Other than that, the most commonly seen method was to rely on the ancient cultivation. There were all sorts of talents in the ancient cultivation, and there were those who specialized in ultra-long-distance teleportation. He left by himself? He could teleport through an ultra-long distance? Forefather Tian Yu did not dare believe it. Ultra-long-distance teleportation was extremely important. The majority of cosmos gods could not do it. Hence, the various holy grounds would usually think of ways to have someone who specialized in ultra-long-distance teleportation within their organization. Even if they did not, they would invite primal chaos giants who specialized in this area to join their organization. For instance, the Great Void Heaven Temple had Inquisitive Sky Hall Master who specialized in this area previously. With Inquisitive Sky Hall Master, many experts in the Great Void Heaven Temple could easily travel to different places. They could even reach the boundary of the void rapidly. There was no Inquisitive Sky Hall Master? The entire Great Void Heaven Temple would be dumbfounded. Dongbua Shuiying's ancient cultivation lineage isn't the Cinnabar inheritance or the Imperial Dragon inheritance. Unless he has multiple talents, and he even has the Void talent? Amen, he is a Void Walker and might have a Void-related talent. Forefather Tian Yu could not help but grin. Chapter 951. Hometown Cosmos. Black Fog Sea, Monarch Dongbo Residence. South. Space distorted in midair, and Shuang walked out from within. Sweeping his gaze across, he was able to see the deep blue-robed girl standing by the lake. With his strength, he could easily discern that his wife had become a true god ruler. This was within his expectations. After all, he had provided her with scriptures, and had even spent the wealth of some weaker primal chaos existences to buy cultivation materials. She was merely a true god ruler. If news of this were to spread, others would feel that the improvement was too little. Jingqiu sensed the disturbance. She turned and revealed a look of joy. Snow Eagle. Jingqiu. Dongbua Shuang walked over with a smile. Not bad. You have reached the ruler realm. I have been in a cultivation state that is even better than enlightenment. I have cultivated for a total of 200 million years. Even I feel that becoming a ruler isn't much. Jingqiu could not help but ask. Oh right, Snow Eagle, can you tell me what treasure is so mystical? At this moment, Jingqiu did not notice that her husband had a huge increase in strength. After all, the gap between them was too huge. When Dongbua Shuang retracted his aura, Jingqiu could not sense it. It's the Scarlet Cloud Pomegranate Core. Dongbua Shuang did not hide anything this time. Instead, he explained in detail. He even told her about the palace hall that was specially refined for cultivation. Jingqiu's eyes widened. She was speechless. This can buy an existence comparable to that black divine hound? Wild black dog. Jingqiu knew about the power it displayed in the past. She had even heard from Dongwu Shuang that it was a puppet at the primal chaos realm that cost more than creating a cosmos. It is at the lowest primal chaos realm. It is slightly stronger with the support of the starting ground array, Dongwu Shuang said. Primal chaos realm. Jingqiu was still shocked. She guessed that the treasure was very mystical. But the price was so huge that it shocked her. She could not help but say, Snow Eagle is so precious. It must not be easy for you to obtain it at the Unity realm. Dongwu Shuang laughed. I am already in the primal chaos realm. Jingqiu looked at her husband in surprise. Ha! Dongwu Shuang laughed. Yu Jingqiu didn't say anything and just hugged her husband. She understood in her heart that even though her husband had reached the primal chaos realm, he was merely at the Unity realm back then. It was extremely dangerous for him to obtain a treasure that ordinary primal chaos realm experts could only purchase after selling all their treasures. Everything is worth it. Dongwu Shuang, on the other hand, felt a sense of calm and warmth in his heart. Back when he had left his home cosmos by himself, he had only been a true god and had been drifting through the primal chaos void. Although he had experienced many dangers, his luck had been good. After Jingqiu came out of seclusion, he had also broken through to the primal chaos realm. Dongwu Shuang also understood that the Great Void Heaven Temple had already discovered him using an ultra-long distance teleportation. But this was something he took the initiative to reveal. Once he reached the primal chaos realm, there was no longer a need to hide it. In the 5 great sacred worlds of the primal chaos void, there were quite a few primal chaos realm giants who specialized in ultra-long distance teleportation. Teacher and primal master, the two of you are at the void god level. It isn't much help for you to cultivate within the cosmos just by relying on those books I wrote. Are you planning to go to the Great Void Heaven Temple? Dongwu Shuang asked Blood Blade and Primal Master. He had not done it previously. It was for the sake of hiding his ultra-long distance teleportation. Of course. The eyes of Blood Blade lit up. All right. Primal Master was filled with anticipation too. The two of them were filled with desire towards the legendary holy ground of the laws and profound mysteries lineage, the Great Void Heaven Temple. Go. Dongwu Shuang left behind an incarnation in his hometown before his true body brought Blood Blade and Primal Master to the Great Void Heaven Temple. The Great Void Heaven Temple placed great importance on Blood Blade and Primal Master too, because in this cosmos, Sword Master who was born previously was too heaven-defying, and Dongwu Shuang was quite dazzling. That was why they placed great importance on both Blood Blade and Primal Master. The moment Blood Blade and Primal Master arrived, they were completely immersed in reading. Many books were being read by them, and there were even many books related to the Hex cultivation lineage. Hometown Cosmos. In the study room, the black-robed Dongwu Shuang sat in front of the study table. He began writing down many books. They were all books directed towards the Void God realm. Given his realm, writing these foundational books was quite easy for him. It's just that he only specialized in those few aspects. That was why the books he wrote were relatively incomplete. Snow Eagle. Jingqiu walked in. Jingqiu. Dongwu Shuang put down the pen in his hand. Previously, you announced publicly that those who reached the Void God level would be sent to the Great Void Heaven Temple. Unless you're Qin Yao, and those other disciples of yours are only sent over after they reach the Void God level? Jingqiu asked. Dongwu Shuang nodded. Amen. Actually, in the Primal Chaos Void and 5 great sacred worlds, even the holy grounds aren't as safe as you think. He could not help but think about his teacher Gu Qi. That was a cosmos god, and he was even protected by Wu Zu. Sacred Master did not care about the price and killed his teacher. According to what he knew, Sacred Master was doing this just to vent his anger. Clearly, he was losing his patience and might start another war at any time. The moment a war began, it was normal for sacred worlds to shatter and cosmos gods to fall. Hence, Dongwu Shuang was not in a rush to send the juniors over. Furthermore, there are fewer books in my hometown cosmos, and there are fewer tempering. Those who could compete with them at the same level are few too. Dongbush Shuang chuckled. Even though the environment for cultivation is much worse than the holy grounds, this is an opportunity for them to temper themselves. Tempering oneself in a bad environment. Tempering oneself for a long time would allow one to have a brighter future. Naturally, there was another possibility. Tempering oneself for too long would cause one to lose the drive to forge ahead. Many transcendental true gods in my hometown cosmos were like that. They had lost their confidence. Even though they knew about the Great Void Heaven Temple, it was hard for them to change their mentality. But Dongbush Shuang would always guide his children and disciples, letting them understand that the environment within the Great Void Heaven Temple was much better, allowing them to maintain their fighting spirit. Let them properly cultivate in my hometown cosmos. When this epoch is about to end, I'll send them all out. Dongbush Shuang said. I'll listen to you. Jing Qiu naturally agreed after knowing of Dongbush Shuang's plan. Currently, being at the primal chaos realm, an incarnation of black-robed Dongbush Shuang could naturally stay in his hometown cosmos, while his true body would cultivate within the Great Void Heaven Temple. He would occasionally come out to meet his teacher Blood Blade and Primal Master. He would also guide his disciple Xinghua Suni. After Blood Blade arrived at the Great Void Heaven Temple, he had flipped through a vast amount of books in the Myriad Elephant Palace Hall. 300 million years later, he had stepped into the Unity Realm, reaching the third-level Star Pagoda strength. Nonetheless, after 10 billion years, Blood Blade remained at the peak of the fourth-level Star Pagoda strength. He was still lacking by a strand to reach the fifth-level strength. It was mainly because he cultivated in the Hex cultivation lineage. Furthermore, his talent in the Hex cultivation lineage was higher than in the Laws and Profound Mysteries lineage. The moment 10 billion years was up, he could no longer stay within the Great Void Heaven Temple. He had to leave the Great Void Heaven Temple to become an Outer Hall Elder. As for Primal Master? He was still at the Origin Birth Realm. Even though Pangyi, Monarch Green, and Purgatory Monarch had all stepped into the Void God Realm and were sent over by Dongbush Shuang, all of them were temporarily stuck at the Origin Birth Realm. It was hard to break through in the Laws and Profound Mysteries lineage. Blood Blade stood in midair. He looked at the distant Great Void Heaven Temple, and also at the cavern dwelling of Dongbush Shuang. He did not bid farewell to his teacher. Being a teacher, he had his pride. Clearly, Blood Blade was not resigned to not stepping into the fifth-level Star Pagoda within 10 billion years. I'll be back. Blood Blade turned around and flew back to the Primal Chaos Temple. He would be stationed in the Primal Chaos City. Chapter 952. Dongbush Shuang stood within the courtyard of his cavern dwelling. He was drinking by himself. Even though he did not send his teacher off, he could sense that his teacher had gone to the Primal Chaos God Palace. It is too difficult to break through in the Laws and Profound Mysteries lineage, Dongbush Shuang thought. The moment one reached the Unity Realm in the Laws and Profound Mysteries lineage, most would start at the third-level Star Pagoda level. Even becoming a Void God was extremely difficult. Many golden-robed disciples were stuck at the bottleneck for a long time. Hence, Pangyi, Monarch Green, and Purgatory Monarch had all become Void Gods. Firstly, they had cultivated for a long period, and secondly, their comprehension abilities were relatively high. But it was not easy for them to reach the Unity Realm. In the current era of his hometown cosmos, other than Dongbush Shuang, only Blood Blade had stepped into the Unity Realm. Teacher seems to specialize more in the Hex cultivation. Dongbush Shuang shook his head. He then stood up and entered the meditation room to continue cultivating their hometown cosmos. There were two dazzling eras in history. One was the era of Sword Master, and the other was his era. They were both relatively dazzling. But comparatively speaking, his era was slightly weaker. He was much weaker than Sword Master, and his teacher Blood Blade was much weaker than Ancestor Devil. Ancestor Devil had reached the Unity Realm in his hometown cosmos. After reaching the Great Void Heaven Temple, he swept across all Unity Realm experts before breaking through to the Primal Chaos Realm. Compared to him, his teacher Bloodblade was indeed weaker than Ancestor Devil in terms of comprehension ability. As for himself, he could still find a reason, he cultivated for a short period. But thinking about how Sword Master could cultivate to the primal chaos realm in his hometown Cosmos, and did not face any setbacks after reaching the Great Void Heaven Temple before becoming a Cosmos God. Even a Unity Realm's 7th level absolute genius would feel the gap when looking at Sword Master. This time, even though Shuang would occasionally come out from his closed-door cultivation, and even went to the Myriad Elephant Palace Hall to read through the books, he had cultivated for the longest period in history, 30 billion years or so. Within the meditation room, the white-robed Dongwu Shuang sat cross-legged on the ground. Not a speck of dust could be seen on his body. Gradually, his body became more and more translucent, until it finally disappeared completely. After a while, the translucent figure of Dongwu Shuang appeared on top of the silver cushion again. It gradually became more and more solid until it returned to normal. Emperor Jiuyun's four-painting technique is too difficult. Dongwu Shuang opened his eyes, frowned, and shook his head. Emperor Jiuyun had left behind 4 paintings. The first 3 were complete, while the 4th was incomplete. The first painting allowed him to grasp the essence of the structure of the void and even peek into a higher-level world, allowing him to comprehend ultra-long-distance teleportation. Hence, in his long years of cultivation, he would naturally focus on cultivating the Walker's hidden secret. The Walker's hidden secret was created by the Void Primogenitor. It used the power of the chaotic void to evolve his body. However, it was a different route to the same end. Emperor Jiuyun was the strongest expert in the void during the primitive ancient Saint World era. Even though his path was slightly different from the Void Primogenitor, the improvement of the Walker's hidden secret had indeed allowed Dongwu Shuang to better understand that mysterious 4-painting absolute art. Cultivating the 4 paintings was similarly helpful to comprehending the Walker's hidden secret. And now, he had pushed the Walker's hidden secret to the 46th level. But the 41st level to the 50th level represented the primal chaos realm. The higher levels were relatively easier, and the harder it was to advance. The second and third paintings are too difficult. Dongwu Shuang shook his head. Perhaps I have to reach the Cosmos God realm in the Void Walker lineage before I can have a chance of reaching large success. The second painting pursued the voidification of the body. As the Void Walker became stronger, his body would become more proficient in voidification, allowing him to dissipate much of the enemy's attack. According to the pursuit of the Void Walker lineage, the pinnacle of voidification was when one's body and the primal chaos void essence became one. They would become a part of the primal chaos void. It wasn't referring to the ordinary void. Instead, the essence of the entire primal chaos void was that black curtain-like existence. When experts fought, they would always be within the primal chaos void. They did not transcend beyond the primal chaos void and touch upon the higher dimensional world. Hence, once the voidification technique became one with the primal chaos void essence, the enemy could not kill him at all. But my teacher was still killed by the Sacred Master. Dongwu Shuang shook his head. The attack of the Sacred Master could similarly tear apart the essence of the primal chaos void essence? Being the strongest expert, the Sacred Master's strength was far beyond what Shuang could estimate. He only knew that the creator of the second and third paintings, Emperor Jiuyun, had been heavily injured by the Sacred Master and eventually fell. The third painting, it pursued the control of the void. The Void Walkers specialized in controlling the void too. Reaching the Cosmos God realm, they could even teleport through an ultra-long distance. But this third painting did not pursue this. Instead, it pursued the pinnacle of the microscopic realm. It sought to control the essence of the primal chaos void, the black fog spherical body formed from the black curtain. Shuang wanted to split it apart so that it would no longer obstruct him, allowing him a deeper understanding of the higher dimensional world. These 2 paintings represent 2 different directions. Voidification to the pinnacle, and control of the void to the pinnacle. Dongwu Shuang was a void walker at the primal chaos realm. He had cultivated these 2 paintings to the intermediate stage. But to reach large success, he knew that only Cosmos gods could do so. Difficult. As for the fourth painting, Emperor Jueyun had yet to create it. Just the incomplete painting was something Ying could not understand at all. If Ying merely cultivated to the 46th level of the Walker's hidden secret, he would not be able to match him in the aspects of voidification and void control. This incomplete absolute art of Emperor Jueyun was indeed amazing. Hong long long. The stone door opened. Dongbua Ying walked out of the cultivation room. At the same time, he transmitted to Forefather Tianyu. Forefather, we can open the 13th Palace Hall now. Good. Forefather Tianyu laughed. Dongbua Ying spent 30 billion years or so to consolidate his foundation after breaking through to the Primal Chaos Realm. This was considered short among the many Primal Chaos Realm experts. Dang dang dang. The bell of the Great Void Palace rang. It reverberated across the entire Great Void holy ground. Many disciples could guess that this should be the celebration of Elder Dongbua breaking through to the Primal Chaos Realm. The celebration of breaking through to the Primal Chaos Realm was held internally. If he were to become a cosmos god, it would be held on a grand scale. Various holy grounds would send experts over to congratulate him. Very soon the news spread. The Great Void Heaven Temple would establish the 13th Palace Hall, the Mirage Palace. The Palace Master would be Dongbua Ying. Furthermore, the Great Void Heaven Temple would construct the 13th Primal Chaos City, the Mirage City. Furthermore, they would construct many cities that were connected to other Primal Chaos cities. This was a huge project. The moment it was completed, Dongbua Ying would arrange for an incarnation of his to guard the Mirage City. Usually, he would fall into a deep sleep. During his deep sleep, he would not consume any mental energy. Brother Dongbua, we will be depending on you. We are looking forward to it. Brother Dongbua has cultivated for several billion years after reaching the Primal Chaos Realm. I wonder how strong Brother Dongbua will be. Right. Let us see how amazing a Unity Realm's 7th level expert is. My Great Void Heaven Temple has never produced a Unity Realm's 7th level expert before you. I've only heard about it from Jade Light's Sacred Territory and Blade Emperor City. The majority of the Hall Masters arc through the sky with their incarnations and Dongbua Ying towards the Star Pagoda. The true bodies of these Hall Masters remained at the boundary of the void and did not dare to leave. Rest assured. I will naturally do my best. Dongbua Ying said. Heart Imitation Religious Master has entered closed-door cultivation for 130 billion years after reaching the Primal Chaos Realm before reaching the peak of the 8th level. Great Emperor Genie of Jade Light's Sacred Territory is even more dazzling. Just 8 billion years or so, he has reached the peak of the 8th level. Currently, the two of them are at the 9th level Star Pagoda strength. Right, don't let them win against you. The Hall Masters by the side said. Alright, everyone, I'll be entering first. Dongbua Ying was still quite a distance away. He soon turned into a stream of light and flew into the entrance of the Star Pagoda. Chapter 953. The Cold Wind Blew. Forefather Tianyu squinted his eyes as he slowly tasted his wine. He even revealed an expression of enjoyment. This old man just wants to drink a few more cups of wine and live a leisurely life. I just want to teach more juniors. But even so, it isn't enough to satisfy me. The Sacred Master controls the entire Primal Chaos Void and wants me to become his puppet? Absolutely loyal to him. What a man! Those destruction devils are also being born continuously, and the situation is getting worse. AI, this is a headache, what a headache. Wu Zu, Jie Zu, Blade Emperor, and those who are plotting in the dark, all of you should work hard and get rid of the Sacred Master. Wouldn't everyone be free then? Forefather Tianyu shook his head. My laws and profound mysteries lineage has produced a Sword Master. He is much stronger than me. Forefather Tianyu revealed a rueful look, that Dongbua Ying specializes in ultra-long distance teleportation too. He can be used to put out fires and be of great help. They were both experts at the 9th level Star Pagoda strength. Those who could teleport through ultra-long distance would be much more useful. The moment they encountered danger, they could escape. And if they did not specialize in it, and had to ask others for help, it would take a long time. This brat has started challenging the Star Pagoda. Forefather Tianyu chuckled. He enjoyed his wine while watching the scene that appeared in front of him. It was the scene of Dongwu Shuang entering the 8th level Star Pagoda. I hope he can break through to the 9th level Star Pagoda's strength in one fell swoop. Forefather Tianyu muttered. Following that, he chuckled. He was clear that even if Dongwu Shuang was very talented and was at the Unity Realm's 7th level, it was still possible for him to reach the 9th level in the future. But most would require a long period of accumulation or tempering. Maybe there might be a miracle? Forefather Tianyu thought. Sword Master had a miracle of becoming a cosmos god even after entering closed-door cultivation. Forefather Tianyu could accept any miracle. And in the scene before him, Dongwu Shuang had already started his battle. 8th level space of Star Pagoda. Just like that Star Pagoda in the Blade Emperor City, it was an enormous battle platform. Many vein patterns on the surface of the battle platform were emitting golden light. The golden light rapidly condensed into a golden-armored destruction devil. This was a destruction devil with a total of 100 metallic braids. Every single metallic braid was distorting the surrounding void. A primal chaos expert from the Great Void Heaven Temple? He broke through recently? I've never seen you before? This golden-armored destruction devil had a total of 6 eyes, with 2 eyes forming a row. The 3 rows of eyes were constantly emitting golden light. Suddenly, an enormous fiery red bird appeared behind Shuang. It spread its enormous wings, causing red streams of air to spread out and envelop the entire battle platform. At that moment, this golden-armored destruction devil began to sway. At times, he would shake his head violently, and at other times, he would sink into oblivion. The rumors aren't false. Destruction devils are relatively weaker in terms of resisting against the illusory realm as compared to ordinary cultivators. My Cinnabar inheritance has reached the pinnacle of 9 transformations, but it is only equivalent to the 8th level Star Pagoda strength. To ordinary 8th level Star Pagoda experts, I can only influence them, and not decide their fate. Dongwu Shuang thought. But the destruction devil in front of him was clearly greatly affected. He could only unleash 10% to 20% of his original strength. Damn. The golden-armored destruction devil shook his head time and time again. He wanted to maintain his consciousness. But the Cinnabar inheritance was different from the Tao of Mirage. Fusing with that red aura, its power was greater. Furthermore, it could continue enveloping the illusory realm over and over again. Let's give it a try. With a thought, a black flower bud was born from the illusory realm and descended into reality. It enveloped the golden-armored destruction devil. It was the 6-petal destruction flower. The golden-armored destruction devil felt himself being enveloped by the enormous black flower bud. As he was barely awake, he punched out with his fist. Hong long, it struck on the black flower bud, causing the flower bud to similarly blossom and begin its destruction. Hong long! The destructive power caused many wounds to appear on the surface of the golden-armored destruction devil's body. I can injure him. Dongwu Shuang sneered, but to win, I'll have to unleash this 6-petal destruction flower many times. It's better not to waste time. 3 flowers. Dongwu Shuang tried. The 3 6-petal realm destruction flowers seriously injured this golden-armored destruction devil. The golden armor on his body was almost shattered, revealing savage and ugly wounds. But more than 100 metallic braids were frantically fusing into his body, allowing him to withstand the attacks. Furthermore, the surface of his body was flowing with golden light, rapidly recovering. 6 flowers. Hong's 6-petal realm destruction flowers stacked on top of each other. The bigger flower wrapped around the smaller flower, and when they finally erupted, the body of the golden-armored destruction devil was blasted until only a few metallic braids were left entangled around his bones. But following that, the golden light surged and recovered. Dongwu Shuang was not in a rush. Instead, he allowed the golden armored destruction devil to continue recovering until he was completely recovered. 9 flowers! A total of 9 six-petal realm destruction flowers stacked on top of each other. Its power was truly horrifying. If one said that a single flower could injure the golden armored destruction devil, then 9 flowers was something this golden armored destruction devil could not withstand. Accompanied by the disturbance of destruction, those tough metallic braids were completely shattered. This time, countless golden light tunneled beneath the battle platform. Clearly, he had won. 9 flowers should be enough to win with a single strike? Dongbush Shuang nodded slightly. Forefather Tian Yu watched the battle scene. He nodded slightly and revealed a grin. This flower technique created by Dongbua has indeed extended to a stronger technique. With 9 flowers fused together, it is barely at the peak of the 8th level standard. Now let's see what happens at the 9th level. Dongbush Shuang looked up at the enormous maelstrom that appeared in the sky. He immediately turned into a stream of light and rushed into the sky. He tunneled into that enormous maelstrom and arrived at the final level of the Star Pagoda, the 9th level. There was a god palace ahead. Within the god palace, there was a throne with a sculpture seated on it. There were a total of 8 sculptures standing by the 2 sides. All of them looked like destruction devils. However, it was just a grayish sculpture without any aura. The sculpture on the throne looked outside through the door of the god palace. With a glance, he saw Dongbush Shuang, who stood on the public square. Kill! An unseen voice reverberated across the entire 9th level. It seemed to come from the sculpture, yet it seemed to come from the world. Hua 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 hua. Many vein patterns on the ground of the public square began lighting up with golden light. Large amounts of golden light converged at different locations, forming a golden armored destruction devil at every location. A total of 9 golden armored destruction devils were born. They had different appearances. Some were tall, some were thin, some were gentle, and some were as though their bodies were hidden in the shadows. But their auras were generally stronger than that golden armored destruction devil he met at the 8th level. As long as I kill all of them, it would represent that I have reached the 9th level Star Pagoda strength. Dongbush Shuang was clear how hard it was to deal with the opponents in front of him. If he could kill all of them, it would represent that his combat power had reached the Cosmos God level, even though he would be weaker than any other Cosmos God. But it was sufficient for him to reach that level. I have to do my best. Dongbush Shuang's eyes were blazing. Previously, he could casually deal with the 8th level destruction devil. But this level did not allow him to be careless. There is actually someone who dares to challenge the 9th level. The Great Void Heaven Temple has another formidable brat. Do it. Kill him. The 9 golden armored destruction devils moved at the same time. Xiao. Dongbush Shuang moved too. The moment he moved, he disappeared from the battle platform. He was displaying his current terrifying strength in the void. Chapter 954. Fix! One of the thin and small destruction devils emitted a dim light from his single eye that illuminated the entire battle platform. The entire space of the battle platform was like a swamp, and one could even see Dongbush Shuang's blurred figure with the naked eye. But in this stagnant space that was like a swamp, Dongbush Shuang could still teleport several tens of thousands of kilometers away with a flash. He easily moved around the 9 destruction devils and sought for an opportunity. His control of space is formidable. We can't teleport, yet he can. These 9 destruction devils looked at each other. They knew that things were amiss. One party could teleport. The other party could not teleport at all. Hence, they could not take the initiative to chase after the other party. This was normal too. Dongbush Shuang was ultimately a void walker at the 46th level of Walker's hidden secret. Furthermore, he had cultivated the 4 diagrams absolute art of Emperor Julian. Emperor Julian was the strongest expert in the void during the primitive ancient sacred world era. He specialized in using and controlling the void. Void Primogenitor was the strongest expert in the void during the primal chaos void era. He specialized in using the primal chaos void energy to reconstruct his body. This represented two directions. Dongwu Shuang cultivated both, allowing his control of the void to be even more amazing. Extinguish! Dongwu Shuang acted. He went all out the moment he acted. Hua hua hua! Many beautiful black flower buds appeared. This 9th level space of Star Pagoda had even formed a terrifying world energy maelstrom. The maelstrom collapsed, and endless world energy surged in. A total of 19 six-petal round black flower buds appeared. One flower wrapped around the other, and the innermost one was wrapped around that thin and small destruction devil who was trying to control the void. 19 flowers! That was Dongwu Shuiying's limit. That time when he was at the 8th Transformation Realm in Cinnabar's inheritance, and the 8th Transformation Realm in Imperial Dragon's inheritance, he had just created a 6-petal realm destruction flower. At that time, he could only unleash 3 flowers at once. In the following 30 billion years, his talent in the Tao of Mirage had indeed become higher. Just by relying on the accumulation of bitter cultivation, he reached the 9th Transformation Realm in Cinnabar's inheritance. As for the Imperial Dragon inheritance, it was slightly weaker. Although the Tao of Slaughter had improved greatly, the Imperial Dragon 9 revolutions had not reached the large success stage. Even if it was not fully mastered, it was not enough for Dongwu Shuang to create a higher level destruction flower. Actually, Dongwu Shuang understood that even if he managed to master the Imperial Dragon's 9 revolutions, he would have to fuse 2 Taos together to create a more perfect third style of the destruction flower. That would be the pursuit of absolute perfection, and the difficulty of creating it would be extremely high. What about now? Firstly, because Cinnabar's inheritances were all at the 9 Changes realm, and Imperial Dragon's inheritance was also at the peak of the 8 Changes realm, he had slightly modified the 6-petal realm flower of destruction, making it more concise. Moreover, those with higher realms would need less mental energy to use it. He only needed about a third of the effort he needed to create the 6-petal destruction flower. Secondly, Cinnabar had succeeded in cultivating the 9 changes, allowing Dongwu Shuiying's soul to be twice as strong as it was at the 8 Changes realm. These two reasons allowed Dongwu Shuiying to unleash a total of 19 six-petal realm destruction flowers at his limit. This was also one of the reasons why he attempted to reach the 9th level. After all, offense was very important. If his offense was not strong enough, he could not even break through the most basic defense of the destruction devils. That would be a joke. Hong, the 19 six-petal realm destruction flowers bloomed at the same time. That thin and small destruction devil could not dodge at all. He could only endure it. But his energy was linked with the other 8 destruction devils like one entity. Their defenses were one entity too. This was the frightening aspect of the destruction devils. Defense as one entity. If one could not break through their defenses, one could not injure them. Hua, the faint golden light covering the body of that thin and small destruction devil could endure for a moment under the destructive power of the 19 destruction flowers before collapsing. The armor on the body of that destruction devil was also torn apart. The muscles and bones on his body were torn too, though they were rapidly recovering under the circulation of the golden light. He can actually break through the defenses without engaging in close combat? The 9 destruction devils immediately understood. This primal chaos giant could rely on teleportation to exhaust them to death. Kill! Kill! The 9 destruction devils began unleashing their most berserk moves. Hong, hong, hong! The 9 destruction devils exploded one after another. They turned into countless golden light that shot out in all directions. Almost instantaneously, the entire battle platform was enveloped by a dense golden light. Dongwu Shuiying was naturally enveloped within. Large amounts of golden light were rapidly entangling with Dongwu Shuiying. This damnable destructive force! Black scales immediately appeared on the surface of Dongwu Shuiying's body. He had completely circulated the Imperial Dragon inheritance. His body had also started voidifying, doing his best to weaken the corrosive power of this destructive force. Die for me! Die, die, die! Dongwu Shuiying frantically unleashed the 19 destruction flowers again and again. Hong hong! Every time he attacked, The dense golden light covering the entire battle platform would be slightly depleted. Not bad, not bad. Forefather Tianyu's eyes lit up as he watched. The golden armored destruction devils dissipated into golden light. This was usually their final move, because this golden light was their foundation. They relied on the golden light to recover from injuries. And the moment their bodies completely disintegrated into golden light, they would no longer have any defenses. The golden light could be used to escape in all directions. They could escape in different directions, and all of them had spirituality. For instance, they could teleport. Hence, if not for the sealed environment of the Star Pagoda, it would not be so easy to kill the destruction devils. The moment they felt something was amiss, they would disintegrate their bodies and escape in different directions. The cultivators could not disperse at all. As for the other method, it was used to risk their lives. The destructive force contained within the destruction devils could corrode all ordinary material in the primal chaos void. Even the strongest expert could be corroded and killed if they had sufficient destructive force. Hence, the destruction devils had turned into the most primal source of golden destructive force to corrode. Clearly, they had no other choice but to disregard any defenses and use this desperate move. This corrosive force. Even though Dongwu Shui Ying's body was powerful, only his scaled armor had reached the level of an upper-graded void god weapon. His fleshy body was comparatively weaker. Fortunately, his voidification ability had reached an extremely high level. Furthermore, he was hiding in the illusory world, allowing him to persist for a longer period. If it were someone like Bai Yun Palace Master who could only rely on his body to resist, he would not be able to hold on for long. Kill, kill, kill! Dongwu Shuang frantically unleashed the destruction flower time after time. The dense golden light on the battle platform was gradually being weakened. This was a battle of attrition. The destruction devils did not have any defenses. They allowed Dongwu Shuang to consume their fundamental destructive force. But at the same time, the destructive force was also corroding Dongwu Shuang. Just 10 breaths later, Dongwu Shui Ying's expression changed. I can't hold on any longer. Dongwu Shuang no longer dared to take the risk. Give up. Very soon, he was teleported out by the treasure spirit of the Star Pagoda. And the remnant golden light rapidly converged, turning into 6 golden armored destruction devils. But their auras were weak. It seemed like there were 6 of them, but in reality, all of them were heavily injured, and the other 3 had lost their lives. Their overall destructive force had been consumed by Dongwu Shuang by more than 70%. Currently, if he could persist for another 7 to 8 breaths of time, he would be able to win. It's a pity that more and more destructive force was corroding into his body, and it would be harder for him to persist. I still lost. Dongwu Shuang was gradually expelling the destructive force in his body with the help of the treasure spirit of the Star Pagoda. Only after a long time did he completely expel it. His expression was slightly pale. I forced them to give up their bodies and use their origin energy to fight against me. But I actually couldn't win. Dongwu Shuang shook his head. After leaving the Star Pagoda, outside was the group of hall masters from the Great Void Heaven Temple. Dongwu, you are out. How is it? How is it? All of them looked at Dongwu Shuang. He can be considered at the peak of the 8th level. The 9th level is too difficult. Dongwu Shuang shook his head. Peak of the 8th level? Amazing. He has only just broken through to the primal chaos realm. Amazing. The hall masters present felt that it was amazing. But it was normal since he had reached the 7th level before reaching the primal chaos realm. Dongwu Shui Ying's expression moved. He immediately said, Forefather is summoning me over. I'll be making a move first. Go, go. You won't be so free in the future. The hall masters were teasing him. Dongwu Shuang arrived at the residence of Forefather Tianyu. Within the courtyard, he saw Forefather Tianyu, who was holding on to a cup of wine leisurely. Forefather. Dongwu Shuang immediately greeted. Not bad, not bad. I thought it would take you a long time to reach the 9th level Star Pagoda's strength. But now, It seems that after cultivating and tempering yourself, you will have a chance of reaching the 9th level. Forefather Tianyu praised. Dongbu Shuang understood the gap between him and the 9th level. To reach the 9th level, he had to become stronger in offense. If his offense was stronger, he would naturally be able to consume all the destructive energy in a shorter period. But like Xinghua Emperor and Primal Chaos Hall Master, they were extremely strong in close combat. They could kill the destruction devils and get through the 9th level. This offensive power was much stronger than his 19 destruction flowers. And his offense could not be greatly improved within a short period unless he created the 3rd style of the destruction flower. As for himself, the only way he had hope was to strengthen his defense. If he could reach the 9th transformation large success stage in the Imperial Dragon Inheritance, the scales on his body would be comparable to top-grade Void God weapons. By then, his body would be amazing. Coupled with his more profound voidification and illusory world, his defenses would allow him to look down on those at the Primal Chaos realm. With a stronger defense, he would be able to resist and exhaust those destruction devils to death. Even though this path is relatively easier, I am considered weak amongst those at the 9th level Star Pagoda strength. Only those like the Black Emperor are considered strong. Dongbu Shuang thought. The Black Emperor was ferocious. All his techniques had reached an ultra-strong level, and even Cosmos gods could do nothing to him. Currently, you still have to temper yourself. Forefather Tianyu chuckled. It is more suitable for you to go to the boundary of the void and engage in countless battles to temper yourself. Once you reach the 9th level strength, I'll have a huge matter to hand over to you. You are the most suitable candidate. By then, the 6 great holy grounds will give you a huge gift. Oh? Dongbu Shuang felt puzzled. A huge matter? Chapter 955. Yes, this is a huge matter. Forefather Tianyu nodded. Ever since the primitive ancient sacred world shattered, the primal chaos void expanded continuously. Thus, destruction devils were born at the boundary of the void. Over the long years, the number of destruction devils increased, and the pressure of resisting against them increased. They were born for the sake of destruction. Perhaps this vast primal chaos void wants to destroy us too, allowing a new world to be born. We might be strong, but before the supreme law, we are just slightly stronger ants. Dongbu Shuang was startled. He recalled how he had once peeked into a higher dimension world through the black fog spherical hole. Even though the number of destruction devils increased, we always thought that our defenses were good and watertight. Forefather Tianyu solemnly said. But not long after I wandered around and created many cosmoses, roughly equivalent to the 5th epoch of your hometown cosmos, we discovered that there are destruction devils hiding within the 5 great sacred worlds. What? Dongbu Shuang was startled. The destruction devils have entered the 5 great sacred worlds. Aren't they always intercepted outside? Even Shuang himself knew that the destruction devils were perfectly defended outside, and not a single one had escaped from the net. We also thought that our defenses are good. But the truth is right in front of us, and it is indisputable that there are indeed destruction devils hiding within. Forefather Tianyu shook his head. We have carefully recalled and guessed that the destruction devils had previously slaughtered their way to the final spatial barrier. We thought that we had perfectly defended against them. But there must have been a fish that slipped through the net and passed through the final spatial barrier. Currently, we have discovered more than 100 traces of destruction devils. They are all golden-armored destruction devils, and we can deduce that there are at least 15 different golden-armored destruction devils. They are all cunning and cautious, and have the ability to change their aura. They usually disguise as ordinary cultivators, and would only reveal themselves during massacres. Thus, we have yet to capture a single one of them. They were born for the sake of destruction. Hence, they could not help but grab hold of an opportunity and start a heaven-shattering massacre. We have always said that there is a certain Devour-class devil who is wantonly slaughtering. None of them dared to call themselves destruction devils. Forefather Tianyu shook his head. Furthermore, the more destruction devils there are at the boundary of the void, the greater the frequency of their large-scale attacks. Occasionally, they would kill their way to the final spatial barrier. As a result, in the large-scale massacres across the 5 great sacred worlds and primal chaos void, the frequency of discovering traces of destruction devils is increasing. Everyone understands. Right now, we still have the upper hand, but as time goes on, our advantage will become smaller and smaller until we are at a disadvantage. In the end, he couldn't hold on any longer. Damn it, that Saint Master isn't helping at all. If he were to help, it would be much easier for us. Dongbu Shuang remained silent. Even if the Holy Master were to help, he would only be able to delay the process of destruction. Maybe Sacred Master understands that the destruction devils will become more and more rampant, and he no longer has the patience to deal with them. Forefather Tianyu said, the early Sacred Masters were extremely patient. They could lay dormant for a long time for a certain goal. But this time, just to vent his anger, he consumed a portion of the origin energy that he had accumulated for a long time to kill your master, Gu Qi. Not for benefits, but just to vent his anger? This is something the Holy Lord would never do in the past. Both internal and external troubles. Forefather Tianyu shook his head. Naturally, Sacred Master isn't a worry. He can't affect the overall situation. The most fatal ones are the destruction devils. Maybe there will be a day when this primal chaos void is destroyed, but we should try our best to delay for as long as possible. As time goes by, a miracle might happen. We have already done our best to defend against these destruction devils at the boundary of the void. What worries us now is the destruction devils that have infiltrated in. They are extremely careful. Cosmos gods have even investigated in the dark several times, yet they seem to be able to detect the existence of cosmos gods. They would not appear at all. And primal chaos existences have no hope of victory at all. They might even lose their lives if they are careless. Of the 10 primal chaos existences that have fallen recently, 2 died in battle at the boundary of the void, and 2 died in internal battles. The other 6 were assassinated by these destruction devils that have infiltrated in. Ah! Dongbu Shuang was startled. The name list of the 10 primal chaos existences that had fallen recently appeared in his mind. We have always concealed this secret precisely because we are afraid of causing panic among the cultivators in the primal chaos void across the 5 great sacred worlds. Forefather Tianyu said, AI, when cosmos gods get close, they will not appear at all. They do not have the confidence to deal with primal chaos existences either. Those at the 9th level strength do not dare to take the risk either. Forefather Tianyu shook his head. After all, there have been 2 peak 8th level existences that have fallen. Thus, we hope to find a primal chaos existence with 9th level strength and the ability to escape through an ultra-long distance teleportation to investigate. Forefather Tianyu said. But there are very few at the 9th level strength. Furthermore, they have to use ultra-long distance teleportation. Before you, there are only 3 of them. Dongbu Shuang knew about this too. There were very few who could use ultra-long distance teleportation, and the number of cosmos gods who could use it could be counted with one's fingers. As there were many primal chaos existences, there were a batch of them. But there were indeed only 3 who could reach the 9th level strength. 1 from the ancient sacred religion, 1 from the ancestor mother religion, and the last one from the lineage of Myriad Realm Tavern Master. Forefather Tianyu felt helpless. Neither the 6 great holy grounds nor the myriad ancient sacred world have any. But you have hope. Forefather Tianyu looked at Dongbu Shuang. You know how to use ultra-long distance teleportation, and you are currently at the peak of the 8th level. The moment you reach the 9th level strength, you will be the best candidate. Forefather Tianyu said. Dongbu Shuang nodded. But he could not help but ask. Even 2 peak 8th level existences died in battle, and we could not save them in time. Are there cosmos gods among the destruction devils that have infiltrated in? This is also why we feel that those at the 9th level who know how to use ultra-long distance teleportation are the most suitable candidates. Forefather Tianyu said solemnly. Even though we do not have any evidence, We suspect that there are cosmos god destruction devils that have infiltrated in. And those at the 9th level would not be killed instantaneously. They could survive for a while. Relying on ultra-long distance teleportation would allow them to easily survive. Naturally, we will also prepare a huge gift for you. With this gift in addition to your own strength, you will naturally be fine. Forefather Tianyu said. Following this, you should pay more attention to your survival techniques and become stronger in this aspect. Forefather Tianyu said. Your current survival capabilities should be ranked in the top 30 amongst primal chaos existences. If your Imperial Dragon inheritance reaches the 9th transformation, coupled with your voidification ability and your ability to hide in the illusory world, your survival capabilities should be ranked in the top 10. Dongbu Shuang understood. There were about 20 primal chaos giants at the 9th level, and a large batch at the peak of the 8th level. If Shuang were to rely on the 8th transformation of the Imperial Dragon inheritance, his defenses would be ranked outside the top 100. After all, the fleshy bodies of the Devour class system were extremely strong. There was also the strongest warrior system, hex cultivation, and some ancient cultivation systems with unique talents. There were many who had strong survival capabilities. Dongbu Shuiying's physical defenses could be ranked in the top 30, and that was quite terrifying. If he were in the top 10, he would be able to resist against the attacks of cosmos gods. By then, coupled with this huge gift that we have prepared, you will be safer. Forefather Tianyu chuckled. Of course, your offensive techniques are still slightly weaker. Currently, your offense is ranked in the top 50 amongst primal chaos existences. In the future, I hope that you can deal against those extremely powerful destruction devils that have infiltrated our world. You can't kill them within a short period, and they can escape in different directions. I understand. Dongbu Shuang nodded. Go to the boundary of the void and properly cultivate. The majority of those at the 9th level Star Pagoda's strength have experienced countless battles at the boundary of the void. Forefather Tianyu said. Amen. Dongbu Shuang was looking forward to it too. Fighting with the destruction devils at the boundary of the void was one aspect of tempering oneself. The other aspect was that after killing the destruction devils, they would emit a unique energy that was similar to the energy from the origin world rocks. Absorbing it would greatly benefit the soul. Furthermore, the stronger the destruction devils killed, the greater the help it would provide. Ordinary gray-armored destruction devils would emit energy comparable to ordinary origin world rocks after they died. If they were blood-armored, the effect would be even better than using origin world rocks. If they were golden-armored, that would be even more amazing. These were all meant to improve the quality of the soul. Hence, fighting there was one aspect of accumulating experience, and the quality of the soul could be improved too. That was why the majority of 9th level Star Pagoda primal chaos existences would appear after tempering themselves there. Chapter 956. Oh right, what do you need to prepare for this trip to the boundary of the void? Forefather Tianyu chuckled. Your teacher has left behind many treasures for you. There is no need for you to not use them. Even though the resources required for the Cinnabar inheritance and Imperial Dragon inheritance had been prepared, it was just a tiny bit compared to the treasures left behind by Gu Qi. I do indeed need to prepare, Dongbu Shuang said. I need 100,000 origin world rocks. 100,000? Forefather Tianyu was startled. Do you want to eat it? Yes. Dongbu Shuang nodded. Forefather Tianyu laughed out loud. What a fellow! Those who are willing to eat 100,000 origin world rocks at the primal chaos realm can be counted with one's fingers. At least I know of two. Some had great harvests during fortuitous encounters, and they would not publicize it even if they ate it. 100,000 origin world rocks should be beneficial to those at the primal chaos realm. If a cosmos god were to eat it, it would be of lesser help, Dongbu Shuang said. All right, I'll prepare it for you. Forefather Tianyu chuckled and nodded. I'll still deduct it from the 300,000 origin world rocks. Other than that, I need a secret treasure that could weaken attacks, Dongbu Shuang said. At the boundary of the void, he felt that he was powerful, but it was better to be cautious. What's the price? Forefather Tian Yu asked. Between 50,000 to 100,000 origin world rocks, Dongbui Shuang said. He still had to keep some treasures for himself since he did not know how long it would take for him to accumulate such a huge amount of wealth. In the future, he might need it urgently. Indeed, you can exchange for a better secret treasure. Forefather Tian Yu nodded after hearing the price. There aren't many secret treasures. I feel that the most suitable one for you is the one in the hands of Wu Zhu. It's called Three-Colored Layered Cloud. I'll ask Wu Zhu first to see what price I can buy it for. Dongbui Shuang nodded. Ordinary void god weapons were negligible to him. Only secret treasures could help him. What was a secret treasure? A cosmos-ranked treasure. Some of them were terrifying treasures that were born naturally in the chaos void or the primitive ancient sages sector and slightly modified into some special items. Or perhaps it was purely a treasure with a mysterious origin. For instance, that third fire cloud realm cauldron of Monarch 9 Cloud had an unknown origin. But it was so precious that even Sacred Master desired to get it. He had dealt against Monarch 9 Cloud time and time again. Thus, cosmos-ranked treasures could only be considered the bottom rung of secret treasures. Ancestor Sorcerer has mentioned that 80,000 origin world rocks. Forefather Tian Yu turned to Shuang. Wu Zhu, Shuang. Dongbui Shui. Dongbui Shuechen. Wu Zhu. Wu. And Wu. Haha, I've already spoken to Ancestor Sorcerer. He'll soon send his subordinates over. Oh, this is the detailed information regarding the secret treasure three-colored layered cloud that he just sent over. Forefather Tian Yu sent a set of information to Shuang. If he didn't buy it, Forefather Tian Yu and the others would have a rough idea. Dongbui Shuang took a look. The triple-colored heavy cloud was a mystical cloud that the sorcerer ancestor had discovered in the vast void of primordial chaos. He had also traced back time to investigate the birth process of the triple-colored heavy cloud. This was originally a special cloud that was born during the primitive ancient sacred world era. Later on, when it shattered, it underwent some changes. After Wu Zhu researched on its many characteristics, he eventually created this secret treasure based on its characteristics. Wu Zhu sent someone to deliver the three-colored heavy cloud. Ancestor Tian Yu kept it personally and passed it to Dongbui Shuang. Evidently, this secret treasure had landed in the hands of Dongbui Shuang. He had to keep it a secret. Only Ancestor Tian Yu, Wu Zhu and a few others knew about it. Three-colored heavy cloud. Dongbui Shuang held the soft white cloud in his hands. If he were to break it apart, he would be able to see the blue and gold clouds within. White, blue, gold, these were the three colors. This secret treasure is most suitable to be used as clothes. Dongbui Shuang sat cross-legged on the silver silk praying mat in the meditation room. He was extremely patient as he started to refine it. The usage of secret treasures was extremely complicated. If one didn't understand it, they might not even know how to use it. Fortunately, the three-colored heavy cloud was created by Wu Zhu. Dongbui Shuang bought it from Wu Zhu. Naturally, he knew the detailed refining method. The refining method wasn't difficult. It just required time to nurture and refine it. During the refining process, a few origin world rocks would occasionally appear in Dongbui Ying's hands. He would throw them into his mouth and open his mouth. The origin world rocks would shrink and fly into his stomach. It was as though he was eating snacks. He would casually throw a few. After all, Dongbui Ying's soul was much stronger than Jing Qiu's. The origin world rocks didn't pose any pressure to him. If he was willing, he could even eat 1,000 of them in one go. However, he wanted to experience the minute changes in his soul. This is indeed the origin world rock. It is rumored to be the origin source energy of the primitive ancient sacred world. Dongbui Shuang thought. The primitive ancient sacred world in the past was equivalent to the current primal chaos void. This origin source energy would strengthen the soul in all aspects. Maybe it would be better to kill the destruction devils. But how many destruction devils would he have to kill to get 100,000 origin world rocks? One had to know that the destruction devils were extremely cunning and would not casually send themselves to death. Even 9th-level primal chaos existences would only be able to absorb 20,000 to 30,000 origin world rocks after a long period of killing. Days passed. Dongbu Shui Ying's soul was transforming every day. It was getting stronger, and his deductions and comprehension had become faster. In the blink of an eye, 19 years had passed. Dongbu Shuiying might not be in a rush to eat the origin world rocks, but he still finished eating all 100,000 of them. On this day, the three-colored heavy cloud had been completely refined. This feels great. Dongbu Shuiying felt that these 19 years were a form of enjoyment. The feeling of absorbing the origin world rocks was wonderful. After eating 100,000 origin world rocks, my soul has strengthened by 30%. Dongbu Shuiying was inwardly delighted. It might not seem much, but in reality, it was an increase of 30% from his original foundation. After cultivating the 9 transformations of Cinnabar's inheritance, his soul had reached an extreme stage, and it was hard for him to improve it further. In the future, even if he became a cosmos god, the degree of improvement would not be too exaggerated. Hence, Dongbu Shuiying was satisfied with improving his soul by 30%. Three-colored heavy cloud. Dongbu Shuiying thought. Hua! A soft white cloud lump rapidly expanded on the surface of Dongbu Shuiying's body. It turned into a relatively thick snow-white robe. This robe was pure white like snow. Naturally, it was formed from the secret treasure cloud lump. It is quite thick, and it can keep me warm. Dongbu Shuiying chuckled. He felt comfortable wearing this snow-white robe. According to what forefather said, with this secret treasure, my body's resistance should be ranked in the top 10 amongst primal chaos existences. After all, how many primal chaos existences would be willing to spend 80,000 origin world rocks just for a protective secret treasure? To Dongbu Shuiying, this was not considered much. His target was the sacred master, and before that, he had to be careful and vigilant. He did not want to fall early. Naturally, he would use the origin world rocks as soon as possible. In the future, when he became a cosmos god, he believed he could earn more origin world rocks. Even if he did not become a cosmos god, this secret treasure was naturally worth it. It should be time for me to head to the boundary of the void. Dongbu Shuiying thought. Hua! An incarnation condensed by the side. Usually, this incarnation of his would be responsible for many trifling matters within the Great Void Heaven Temple, like teaching disciples or participating in some important meetings within the Great Void Heaven Temple. As long as it was not a battle, ordinary matters would consume very little of his heart energy. If there were no important matters, his incarnation could even enter a deep sleep. That would consume a negligible amount of energy. Go. The void by the side of the meditation room warped. Dongbu Shuiying, who was wearing a thick snow-white robe, took a step into it. Following that, he disappeared from the vicinity. I will inform you beforehand that I will have a day off tomorrow. Chapter 957. Even though the 7-star oceanic sacred world was very far from the boundary of the void, Dongbu Shuiying took a moment to appear from the distorted void. Garbed in a thick white robe, Dongbu Shuiying looked over. He could see an extremely small fort in the distant void. This was the fort that cultivators paid a huge price to construct at the boundary of the Void Castle. The number of experts gathered in the Void Castle far exceeded any other sacred world. There were at least 3 true bodies of cosmos gods stationed here. As for incarnations, more than 10 cosmos gods had incarnations here. Even the carefree Luo city lord had an incarnation here for a long period of time. There were more than 200 true bodies of primal chaos giants here, and there were even more incarnations. There were also many Unity Realm experts who came here to risk their lives. This was the frontline resisting against the destruction devils. And today, the new primal chaos realm Dongbu Shuiying had come here too. Void Castle. Dongbu Shuiying looked at that small fort. He took another step, causing space to distort before entering the Void Castle. Xiao. The Void Castle was in reality huge. It spanned more than 50 million kilometers, and the majority of it was filled with arrays and weapons. Within one of the palace halls, there were a total of 200 over primal chaos existences chatting in groups of 2s and 3s. They were chatting happily. 1. Accompanied by the distortion of space, Dongbua Shuing directly appeared within the palace hall. Hall Master Dongbua? Those primal chaos cultivators who were drinking and discussing about Dao turned over. When they saw Dongbua Shuing, many of them could not help but chuckle. Hard imitation, religious master. Dongbua Shuing simply replied with a chuckle. He then walked towards the 5 primal chaos existences in the Great Void Heaven Temple. Who would have thought that Dongbua Shuing would come to the Void Castle so quickly? The other primal chaos existences were also discussing. It seems he has reached a bottleneck in his closed-door cultivation. He should be at the peak of the 8th level Star Pagoda strength now. This truly makes us feel ashamed. Even I can't get through the 8th level even after cultivating for so long. The group of primal chaos existences were chatting idly. Almost all of them were incarnations, all of them resting here, ready to go out and fight at any moment. And at another corner, Dongbua Shuing had met with the 5 primal chaos experts from the Great Void Heaven Temple. Why are there only incarnations in this hall? The 5 of you are also incarnations? Dongbua Shuing smiled in surprise. Later, the Void Castle will also arrange a small cave residence for you. The Primal Chaos Hall Master held an ancient wine cup and said with a smile, when the battle situation is relatively easy, it's usually an avatar that fights outside. Only when the battle situation is urgent will the true body take action. You know that the real body must be in the inner region, right? Palace Master Leadwing also said. Yes, I know. Dongbua Shuing nodded. The destruction devils were born within the boundary of the void within the Lost World Corridor. The space within the Lost World Corridor was chaotic like a strange maze. Even cosmos gods would lose themselves in it and never walk out. According to rumors, there were many lairs within the Lost World Corridor, and those lairs would give birth to destruction devils. Of course, the lairs were graded too. Most would only give birth to gray-armored destruction devils, and it was rare for them to give birth to blood-armored destruction devils. According to legends, there were some unique lairs that could give birth to golden-armored destruction devils. Thus, the cultivators started to build a large-scale warning array in the outer space of the Lost World Corridor to envelop the outermost region of the corridor. The moment any destruction devils came out, they would be discovered through the warning array. This warning array region was also the outer region. Meanwhile, in a relatively small area behind the realm formation, the cultivators had completely sealed off the void in this area at all costs. The strength of the seal far surpassed that of the sacred world. Even the cosmos gods within the destruction devils could not teleport. They could only fly slowly. Hence, the moment the destruction devils came out of the Lost World Corridor, they would first be located in the outer region. The moment they entered the inner region, they could only fly slowly. Even though the region was small, if they flew slowly, it would take a long time. The cultivators had sufficient time to eliminate them. At the end of the inner region was the spatial barrier. This was also the final layer of defense. If the destruction devils could charge through the inner region and break through the spatial barrier, they would be able to enter the vast primal chaos void. By then, the 5 great sacred worlds, countless cosmoses, and primal chaos lands would be free for them to invade. They can only fly in the inner region. They do not know where we are, yet we can discover them. We can easily surround and kill them. Leading Wing Hall Master chuckled. Furthermore, even if a cosmos god destruction devil steals his aura and sneaks in, the moment he reveals his strength, we can teleport through an ultra-long distance. A group of cosmos gods will then surround and attack him. Dongbua Shuing nodded. Even though the seal in the inner region was formidable, ultra-long distance teleportation was practically unsolvable. They could enter any location, including the Lost World Corridor. The cultivators relied on ultra-long distance teleportation to explore the Lost World Corridor. They even discovered some lairs. After locking onto their location, a large group of cosmos gods would immediately rush over and destroy the layers. After that, they would rely on ultra-long-distance teleportation to escape. By relying on ultra-long-distance teleportation, the cultivators had gained the initiative. As for the destruction devils, they had yet to discover any ultra-long-distance teleportation. Naturally, only the fallen Emperor Jiuyun could resolve the problem of ultra-long-distance teleportation. He had already researched and created an array that could seal ultra-long-distance teleportation before falling. Fellow cultivators, tell me what we have to take note of when we go out to battle, Dongbua Shuang asked. Even though he knew some information, those present at the Primal Chaos Realm were more experienced. Previously, Primal Chaos Hall Master mentioned that we would usually send our incarnations out to battle. We would only act with our true bodies during emergencies. Celestial Water Hall Master shook his head. That's because the incarnations of Primal Chaos Hall Master are at the peak of the 7th level strength. We are much weaker. Like me, my true body is only at the peak of the 7th level. My incarnations are even weaker. It is impossible for us to gain anything just by relying on our incarnations. Hence, our true bodies would frequently be in the inner region. We would first let our incarnations scout ahead and ascertain the degree of danger before our true bodies would charge in. Only by killing some sufficiently powerful destruction devils would it be helpful to our souls. Dongbua Shuang nodded. The more powerful the destruction devil, the more likely they would leave behind some precious materials. Leading Wing Hall Master added. Precious materials. Dongbua Shuang knew that it was not like fighting in the Star Pagoda where there were no benefits. Battling with the destruction devils, other than tempering oneself, one could also absorb unique energy that was beneficial to one's soul. Furthermore, some parts of the body of those destruction devils would become unique. Even if they died in battle, those parts would remain. They were all precious materials that could be used to refine cosmos-ranked treasures and other secret treasures. Like Qingkun in the past, he was a body material of a destruction devil. For instance, a certain golden-armored destruction devil's hair could be used as a weapon. His hair was like a true weapon that could not be destroyed. Even if he died in battle, his hair would remain, and this hair could be used to refine secret treasures. It might be worth a few thousand or even more than 10,000 origin world rocks. This required luck. One had to reach a stage where the body part had turned into a weapon and could not be reversed. An absolute majority of destruction devils died, and their bodies were completely destroyed. I've been stuck at this bottleneck for too long. The help the destruction devils can provide me is negligible. Primal Chaos Hall Master chuckled. Dongbua, you have just broken through not too long ago. You should still work hard. I understand. Dongbua Shuang nodded. Also, you can try exploring the Lost World Corridor. Primal Chaos Hall Master chuckled. Chapter 958. Right, by exploring the Lost World Corridor, we will discover their many layers and directly destroy them. That is how we truly cut off their roots. Inquisitive Sky Hall Master said. The majority of cosmos gods have sent their incarnations in. I will also send my incarnations to be brought in by them. The moment we discover the layers, I can ascertain the location, and the true bodies of cosmos gods can directly kill their way in. Dongbua Shuang nodded. The Lost World Corridor gave birth to many batches of destruction devils. Destroying their lairs was indeed fundamental. But it was too difficult. The Lost World Corridor itself was too dangerous. Secondly, the more important the lairs, the destruction devils would send a large group of experts to guard them. Only cosmos gods with sufficiently high realms would be able to reap greater rewards by sending their incarnations. Most primal chaos incarnations would not be able to reap much rewards. Dongbua, you can teleport through an ultra-long distance. You can send some incarnations in when you are free. Who knows, you might be lucky enough to discover some important layers. Celestial Waterhall Master said. Dongbua Shuang could teleport through an ultra-long distance, and it was public knowledge within the Great Void Heaven Temple. It is easy to get lost in the Lost World Corridor. Furthermore, the important layers will definitely be guarded. Dongwu Shuang shook his head. That's right. Even the incarnations of cosmos gods would frequently get lost. Inquisitive Sky Hall Master sighed. In the primal chaos void, the most suitable to explore would be Myriad Realm Tavern Master and his lineage, Mount Chime. Myriad Realm Tavern Master has many avatars, and he can easily teleport through an ultra-long distance. If his avatars enter the Lost World corridor, even if they were to get lost, they could immediately teleport away. Celestial Water Hall Master, Leading Wing Hall Master, and the others agreed. Dongwu Shuang nodded too. There were two dangers in the Lost World corridor. One was that it was easy to get lost, and the other was that there were destruction devils stationed within. Get lost? One could avoid it by relying on ultra-long distance teleportation. Garrison? One could rely on ultra-long distance teleportation to bypass the garrison and enter the lairs. Nonetheless, those who ventured in were usually incarnations. Like Inquisitive Sky Hall Master and the others, their true bodies could execute ultra-long distance teleportation, but their incarnations could not. Incarnations could only act as spatial markers. Even if their true bodies opened a passage, it would merely connect the incarnations to the outside world. He could not travel freely in the Lost World corridor. In the past, Guqi and Void Primogenitor could teleport through an ultra-long distance after becoming a cosmos god. But that was a forceful spatial teleportation, and it required a lot of heart energy. If it was just a clone, it wouldn't be able to execute a move like super long-distance teleportation. Only the lineage of the Myriad Realm Tavern Master. It was said that the lineage of Myriad Realm Tavern Master was extremely hard to reach. Those who had truly cultivated it were Myriad Realm Tavern Master, and the other was the 9th level Star Pagoda expert Mount Chime. The Myriad Realm Tavern Master had countless clones, and could easily appear anywhere. Mount Chime was slightly weaker. Other than his main body, he only had a clone. However, his incarnation could also perform ultra-long-distance teleportation. Clearly, their bloodline wasn't that of ancient cultivators. Rather, they had truly grasped the art of ultra-long-distance teleportation. Furthermore, it didn't consume too much of their mental strength, and their incarnations could teleport. The Cosmos Gods have also asked Myriad Realm Tavern Master and Mount Chime for help in the exploration. They are even willing to pay a relatively high price. Primal Chaos Hall Master shook his head. It's a pity that the two of them have asked for a very high price. Actually, according to logic, every cultivator with strength should come and resist against the destruction devils. After all, this is saving the entire Primal Chaos Void, and also saving ourselves. But Sacred Master and Ancestor Mother are madmen. Myriad Realm Tavern Master and Mount Chime similarly only recognize benefits. Otherwise, they wouldn't help at all. Myriad Realm Tavern Master's price is ridiculously high. Even Cosmos Gods can't afford it. Mount Chime is ultimately at the Primal Chaos realm. His asking price is relatively low, but it is still very high. He needs 10,000 Origin World rocks to explore 100 million years. If he were to discover a blood-armored destruction devil lair, he would need another 10,000 Origin World rocks. If he were to discover a golden-armored destruction devil lair, he would need 200,000 Origin World rocks. Primal Chaos Hall Master sighed. This price is too high. Dongwu Shuang sighed too. It was too ruthless. Without any harvest, he would need 10,000 Origin World rocks to explore for 100 million years. What if it was 3 billion years? One had to know that Senior Guqi, who was a cosmos god, had left behind all the treasures to Dongwu Shuang, and the total value was only about 360,000 Origin World rocks. A cosmos god selling all his treasures could only make Mount Chime toil for 6 billion years? Even though the price is high, Wu Zhu and the others had once asked Mount Chime for help. Primal Chaos Hall Master said. But just a billion years later, Mount Chime merely discovered 5 blood-armored destruction devil lairs, and the Cosmos Gods had to fork out a total of 150,000 Origin World rocks. From then on, the Cosmos Gods no longer asked Mount Chime for help. I've heard that Mount Chime was willing to reduce the price by half, but the cosmos gods did not agree to it. The price is too high, and it isn't worth it. Even though the efficiency of the cosmos gods' incarnations might be low, over a long period, Wu Zhu and the others have their own techniques, and they have discovered dozens of blood-armored destruction devil lairs and 2 golden-armored destruction devil lairs. Primal Chaos Hall Master said, "How hateful." Myriad Realm Tavern Master and Mount Chime, who specialize in scouting, have asked for such a high price. Unless when the destruction devils break through our defenses and sweep across the entire primal chaos void, what meaning is there for the 2 of them to live? If what we guessed is right, by then, the primal chaos void would give birth to a new world, and they would still die. Dongbush Shuang softly nodded. That's right. It was fine if some of the weaker primal chaos existences did not come to help. But those who could play a huge role, like the strongest sacred master and the other extremely powerful ancestor mother, did not come to help. Even Myriad Realm Tavern Master and his lineage Mount Chime did not face any danger when they came to help. Furthermore, they asked for a ridiculously high price. How hateful. Celestial Waterhall Master coldly snorted. If it were possible to kill them, the cosmos gods would have long forced them to do so. Myriad Realm Tavern Master has many incarnations, and it is impossible to find the avatar of Mount Chime even if he hides. Primal Chaos Hall Master shook his head. This lineage of theirs is truly heaven-defying in survival. Dongbush Shuang agreed. Furthermore, Dongbush Shuang felt that the lineage of Myriad Realm Tavern Master was similar to the 4 diagrams absolute art he got from Emperor Julian. For instance, ultra-long-distance teleportation was a technique he grasped. He could execute it at the Unity Realm, and now that he reached the Primal Chaos Realm, he could create an incarnation and use it too. It's just that their lineage seemed more formidable since they could refine avatars. One had to know that other than their lineage, only those with unique talents could have avatars. Nobody can deal against their lineage. Sacred Master and the others aren't willing to become enemies with them. Our 3 great sacred worlds aren't willing to become enemies with them either. Primal Chaos Hall Master shook his head. After all, enemies who can't be killed and trapped are the most troublesome. Dongbush Shuang felt puzzled. Why didn't Sacred Master, Ancestor Mother, and the lineage of Myriad Realm Tavern Master act to help the destruction devils? Dongbush Shuang could not help but think about the most fundamental black fog spherical hole in the void which he had peeked into, that mysterious higher dimensional world. Do they know more secrets? Otherwise, they shouldn't be like this before death. This was merely a conjecture. Even though he had cultivated the 2nd and 3rd diagrams, his understanding of the higher dimensional world was too little. Dongbush Shuang felt that the lineage of Myriad Realm Tavern Master was similar to that 4 diagrams absolute art of his. Perhaps they might have a deeper understanding of the higher dimensional world. Since those who specialize in scouting aren't helping us, we can only rely on numbers to make up for it. Cosmos gods are going to scout, and at times, we 9th-level Star Pagoda experts would also send our incarnations to scout. Primal Chaos Hall Master said. And then I plan on going too, Dongbush Shuang said. In the 5 great sacred worlds of the Primal Chaos Void, other than the 2 from the lineage of Myriad Realm Tavern Master, he could similarly teleport through an ultra-long distance with his incarnations. But he had to keep it a secret. Like Mount Chime, other than being able to teleport through an ultra-long distance, he had even cultivated avatars. Cosmos gods could not find his avatars when they were hidden. Hence, nobody could deal against him. Behind him was Myriad Realm Tavern Master, who had many avatars. But he did not have any avatars. The moment he revealed that his incarnations could teleport through an ultra-long distance, it would be troublesome. I'll go and scout by myself. I'll leave behind a spatial mark when I find the lair of a blood-armored warrior, and temporarily not publicize it. After all, if I were to publicize it, discovering many important lairs consecutively would most likely arouse suspicion. When I discover the golden-armored lair, I'll directly publicize it. Dongbush Shuang thought. He was guarding against Myriad Realm Tavern Master and Sacred Master. After all, Who did not want to obtain the ultra-long distance teleportation technique? Sacred Master could not deal against the lineage of Myriad Realm Tavern Master, but how could he deal with him? Star.